Yeah, looks like, I don't know, my internet is completely breaking down. I don't know, the connection is like extremely bad, so I'm really sorry. I don't know how to fix it. I think it's my provider that is just like, the servers are burning or something. It's really bad. I actually don't know how to fix this. I dropped like over half of my frames are dropped. It's like, that's why it's lagging so much. It's like, there is no connection. Like, my PC is completely fine. It's just the internet connection that is like completely unstable. So bad. It's crazy. It's so crazy. I'm really sorry, guys. I actually really wanted to do a stream today, but I can't stream with this. This is not possible. Crazy. It's like now at 2/3 of my frames are dropping. I'm not even like doing anything, you know? It's just a stream. Nothing else is happening. It's crazy. Really sorry. Really sorry. Let's wait maybe for a minute or something. Maybe it fixes itself, but I don't know. I don't know how to do it. Yeah, I know, it's not my fault, but it's really sad, you know. I wanted to have a big hype stream today talking about the lead specs and give you my feedback, and now I guess I can't do that, you know, if the internet is like saying, yep, not today, you know. I don't know. Just German internet issues, you know. Yeah, it might be better on YouTube, that might be true because they have better buffering, but the problem is still that my OBS is trying to send the information and it's not working. It's just like, it's sending it, not in, like the internet is not accepting it fast enough. So the same issues should persist on YouTube as well. Might be better, but it might not be like good enough in my opinion. Don't want to have a scuffed stream that is like really bad in terms of quality, just that I have had a stream in general. So yeah. Yeah, I'm waiting to see if the number goes up, you know, if my connection gets higher bandwidth, but it seems to be like very stable at a very low level. Oh, that's not good. It's so bad. Yeah, I don't know. Did you ever consider doing a tier list or best class for every raid wing? So for wing 1, quick DPS is best to play Catalyst. That's an interesting idea, Sky. So the thing is, the problem is with such a tier list is that people always take it too literally. You know, if I say the best quick DPS for wing 1 is Catalyst, people will say, oh my god, you say quick Catalyst is the only thing that you can play there. You know, this is like not what I told you. I just said this is the best one, but doesn't mean all the others are shit. So I don't want to like spread information that people interpret in a wrong way. And I'm not sure if it's like a tier list that people would really enjoy watching, especially if a lot of people like to play a specific class and don't want to hear this is the only class that is absolutely broken there, whereas this class that you play all the time is okay, but not that good. And they are really toxic and say, oh, I cleared it like 500 times already. So I want to be like informative while also being somewhat like reasonable. And I think that might be a little bit of an issue to make a tier list like that. But I think it's a cool idea. Maybe I can make it somewhat of a more general idea of which class is the best for this ring. Yeah, I don't know. I think I think maybe it would more be suited in some kind of video where I go over specific raid wing 1 and tell you exactly what classes are really good at which boss and stuff, and don't make a tier list out of it, because the tier list is always somewhat like people say, oh, this is like what that S tier, you know, I have to play the S tier builds. But if I talk about a specific boss and say, okay, here on this boss, this class is really good, and then we go to the next boss and say this class is really good, and don't put it in a tier list, I think it makes a little bit more sense. So maybe that's a cool idea for a video topic. Yeah. Yeah, I saw the Reddit post. I saw it. So, Wolf, I would actually say that the best class for Elementalist and Fractals, especially in CMs, is by far Weaver. It's like Power Weaver is on top. Even Condi Weaver is really, really strong. But what else would I say is good? I mean, you can play Tempest, it's actually surprisingly good. You can play Catalyst, it's surprisingly good. But the problem is that Weaver is like the best DPS, and Tempest and Catalyst are just worse supported than Tempest, than like, for example, Chronomancer or even Firebrand if you play it well. So yes, you can easily play Tempest as a support, you can easily play Catalyst as a DPS or a support, but it will not go to the level of DPS from a Weaver, and it will not go to a level of Chronomancer support in Fractals. It's just not gonna happen. So, yeah. Welcome, Beaver. Welcome, welcome. As well as the Fuck Up Elementalist new Elite spec, they did that with Guardian spec. I'm gonna turn into John Wick. Yeah, I actually think the Evoker will be really good. I actually have I think the next 3 Elite specs will be the favorites of everyone. Like, I really think so, because I think they saved the best for last. We don't have any information about how they work, especially the Revenant and Engineer one. We don't know anything about it, and I think that's a good thing. So I really predict that to be like a really good spec. Yeah. Yeah, Catalyst is strong. Catalyst is definitely strong for Fractals, but I'm saying if you want to play the top DPS, I would probably go for Weaver, and if you want to play as quickness support, I would say there are better ones than Catalyst, but Catalyst is a really strong DPS spec right now, for sure. I think the Engineer spec, I don't see it to be actually a healer. I think they might have some healing in there or some kind of supporting, but I think the main focus of the Engineer spec will probably be some kind of DPS spec that has some very unique mechanic in there with unique buffs as well. I think I highly expect the Engineer spec to be something that is very flexible, so you can easily put it in some kind of support role or defensive role or offensive role, whatever it takes. I think it's actually surprisingly flexible. I really think so. But we don't know. We don't know anything about it. We don't even know guaranteed which icon it will get. And I think it will be the Quicksilver with the icon that is with those orbs and stuff floating around it. I think that makes sense, but we don't know anything. So is it now better with the legs or not? Because if not, then I guess I have to stop, for today. If it's still like I think it's still at 50% dropped frames or something. Yeah, that could be true, Black Magic. It could be true that they are like really sweating right now to get the finish for the next week, but I actually think they will also be the best for last. I think the Revenant one will be the hottest cook. I am actually really suspect that one. I actually have really high hopes for the Revenant one. Yeah, Power Soul Beast is like insane. Power Soul Beast is the best DPS for Power Fractals. If you play this one and have a decent support that provides stability or H's, yeah, you will not beat a Power Soul Beast, that's correct. I'm not sure actually, Andrea, if Engineer will get a Condi focused spec, because the thing is, if the Engineer spec will get a Condi focused one, you already had somewhat of a Condi focused one with Mech. Scrapper is not Condi focused, and I would say Holosmith is not either, so I can see there would be a Condi focused one, but look at the other 6. We got 6 Elite specs now, and only one of them is playable as Condi, which would be the Troubadour. All other 5 are not really Condi focused. Yes, you could maybe play the Antiquary Condi focused, but it's like almost all of them are power or supportive. That's actually crazy. It's crazy. None of them is really clearly focused towards condition damage. So I expect there will be one, could be the Engineer. I expect more that it will be the Revenant one, to be honest, but we will see. In the trailer for Paragon, it looked like the Spear auto attack of the Warrior bounced. Maybe they rework Spear for the Paragon. I think it was not I think it was the explosion. I think they zoomed in so much that the explosion of the Spear, because there is a normal Spear attack that explodes and sends up some kind of fragments of the spear. I think that's what they zoomed in, and that's what you saw there. I don't see it bouncing, to be honest. I don't see the spear rework. Maybe we know we will get a balance patch before the expansion, as far as I know. So maybe there will be a rework to spear, but I don't see it, to be honest. I think spear is can get some buffs, yes, but I think it's not needing a complete rework. That's just my take. Yeah. Yeah, if it's stable, then maybe I can continue streaming. Let's see. I think it's, I don't know. It's stable at a bad quality for me. Oh my god. I dropped like in the last 10 minutes, I dropped 23k frames. So quite a lot of them like were just missing. Yeah, so I don't know. Right now it seems like a main Power Chrono for yet another expansion. I think Power Chrono will be really good, but I think Troubadour will be dethroning Chronomancer. I think Chronomancer, with the nerf to the stability uptime and also probably some other nerfs coming to it, I really think that Troubadour will be the best support after this. I think Chronomancer will be good, but I think that actually Troubadour will be the new support that you play, even in Fractals. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree. There is not a clear engineer spec that is like guaranteed to be Condi. Yeah, that is true. But I think engineer is a class that by design is somewhat flexible. You know, you have the baseline kits, so you have the grenade kit, the bomb kit, you even have the mortar kit, and all three of those are somewhat like flexible. You can play a power build, you can play a Condi build, you can play a support build even with the mortar kit. So I think it's like, I think engineer never has a spec that is like only Condi. I think that doesn't make sense because you have so much flexibility in the base class that I think you would just make the spec very bad if you would force it to be Condi. So we will see. Yeah, I agree. I think Chronomancer is more interesting than Troubadour, but let's see. Maybe the gameplay is amazing. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Pick them up. Yeah, it could be I could lower the resolution. But to be honest, I don't want to make like I said, I don't want to make a scuffed stream just that I can stream, you know. I would rather have a no stream and maybe stream someone else. Next week is actually way more hyped, you know, getting the Festival of the Four Winds push and stuff. I want to get a good stream and not make a bad stream just to have streamed at all. That's my logic there. Yeah, glad I can help with the Willbender. When it comes to open world, would you recommend Power DH or Condi Willbender? So I would say Condi Willbender is better for open world than DH. It depends. It depends what you want to do. If you want to solo hard bosses, then I think Condi Willbender is better. If you want to like just have some blast in the open world with maybe some people around you, just some meta events and stuff, Dragon Hunter is better. So it depends a bit what you are going for. I think Willbender is the safer bet for hard fights, whereas Dragon Hunter is the one that I would choose for like 90% of the open world if you have some people around you, some open world events, some meta events, some world bosses, stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Always happy to help. Yeah, I think the Troubadour is fun. Don't get me wrong. I will probably be in Troubadour jail as soon as the expansion launches because I'm a support player that likes to play the best support, and that will probably be the Troubadour. So I will definitely like play that one. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure if that's like the best fantasy for me. I think the Chronomancer was way more interesting. Way more interesting. Yeah, I really don't know what's the issue today. It's so sad, you know, I had like a big plan for the stream, what I wanted to do and talk about every single thing and like go really deep in everything. And yeah, by support you mean heal or boon DPS? Yeah, both of them. So like if you would go and look at my logs from the last like months, I like play like in 5% of the cases I play a DPS, full DPS. In like 95% of the cases I either play the healer or I play the boon support, boon DPS. Yeah, so I never get to play the DPS because it's always someone, I join the group and I say, hi, I'm filling, you know, and it's always like the DPS people are like first and I'm forced to play some kind of support. Typically it's the boon heal, but I also play, of course, like the boon DPS. It always depends. And very rarely DPS. That's a little bit sad, but I hope I can test all the elite specs coming up, even if they're DPS very soon as well. So we will see. We will see how it goes. Maybe the mentality changes a bit if everyone wants to play Paragon or Ritualist as a support or even Troubadour as a support, and then I can play some DPS specs. Maybe. We will see. I still have my hopes for that one. Always bring quick DPS, then you will never have shitty boons. Yeah, that's true. That's actually that's why I like to play quickness more than I like to play alacrity, at least on a DPS build, quickness DPS, because alacrity is a nice boon to have, but it feels not as bad if you drop it if you compare it to quickness. If I play a DPS build, like I play a power virtuoso, and I have a bad quickness support, it feels one of the worst feelings in the entire game. It's just horrible. If I player Alacrity support, it looks way different. I mean, I actually don't know. Yeah, my ping is higher than usual, but it's not too bad either. To be honest, maybe it's like okay right now. Yeah, I actually think quickness is, for me, more of an important boon. I really think so. I've only played supports in MMOs since 2000s, but does not feel connected to the new spec. My only hope is a support-able engineer now. I actually think they really think about the elite specs, and I think currently we only have the Antiquary, which is the only spec that is like not being able to blade as a support. All the others are full able to be played as a support. So I actually think that the Revenant one and the Engineer one will definitely get a support one, and I think the Evoker probably as well. I think all three of those will have some support component in there. So if you like any of them, you will probably be happy and get some supportive spec there. I really think so. I think they don't want to have something like the Dragon Hunter or even the Soul Beast, where it's like clear to be a DPS spec only. I think they really want to have more flexibility in the new specs so that people that are looking for support or people looking for a DPS are happy with it, and not only one of those groups. I really think so. Yeah, exactly. I'm from Germany, and it's like really bad. Like normally my internet is like, the connection is quite fine, but apparently today it's horrible. It's like I'm like living in the Middle Ages or something like that. Checking traits and skills. 2, it feels that the Condi variant of Engineer always gets cut. For example, Holoforge 3 in PvP deals burning in PvE. Why not also in PvP? Yeah, I think it's so weird that that Engineer is so flexible, but if you look at the elite specs, there is almost no support for Condi in there. You know, it's like you always rely on your weapons. It's only the weapons. There is almost never a trait in the elite specs of Engineer that say, oh, this is now a big Condi trait. Especially Scrapper and Holosmith are like insane. There is almost nothing there. So I really like hope that the new spec will have some kind of clear dedicated trait where you say, okay, I picked this now and I change my elite spec to be maybe burning focused, or maybe it's like something crazy new. Maybe it's like torment focused, where you normally didn't get torment on Engineers, something like that. That would be cool, but I don't know. I really don't know. I think the Engineer spec, even if I would expect it to be some kind of Quicksilver or something like that, it could be anything mechanically. I have no clue what they are coming up, what they are cooking right now. I can't wait to Wednesday and get the preview of that one, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's the summer holidays. All the kids are like absolutely blocking my internet connection. I guess that could be true. I mean, now it jumped up to a bit higher connection. Maybe we can still do the stream. Let's see. No, now it's back down. It was baiting me. Let's see. Maybe someone is like crazily downloading something, or I don't know what. I don't even know, you know. Normally my internet connection is quite good. I don't actually had that problem before, and I was streaming like for a year already, so I really don't know what the problem is, to be honest. It's just like, you know, technical difficulties, you know, what can I say? Happens to everyone, I guess, at some point. They also should change the Luminary Shroud auto attack to not always be the blast, but a different attack depending your equipped Shroud weapon. I think in general, also the Ritualist has that problem that the Shroud auto attack, like the Luminary one and the Ritualist one, they are actually not that exciting, you know? Look at the normal Shroud auto attack that Necromancer has. They are really potent. The Reaper one is really good. If you get, for example, even the Harbinger one is really, really strong. And this one looks quite bad, to be honest. The Luminary as well. The Luminary looks like some kind of like, we didn't know what to do, so we put then just a normal auto attack there. I think it's cool that it alters depending on which weapon you equip, but I think the auto attack itself is quite boring. So, yeah. Yeah, we will see next week. Ironically, I was waiting for Engineer and Draft to decide what to main for the next month. Yeah, I think actually, like someone mentioned earlier, I think they might still be cooking those three, but I actually have the hopes that they save the best for last, so that the Evoker, the Revenant one and the Engineer one are actually the most exciting ones, and they want to have the best hype possible at the end. So I really hope so, but we will see. Welcome, Undo. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, final one. Yeah, it's good. I'm doing good. Apparently, my internet connection is not doing that well today, so we will see if I can continue the stream or if I have to stop. Because if it's like really bad and there's like it continues like this, apparently it's really laggy. I don't want to like have a laggy stream, you know. So we will see. 20 characters in the past 2 days. I'm so sorry, you know. I just want to like tell people that Guild Wars 2 is a game with trying out different builds, different characters if you have to. It's amazing if you do it like that. But if you can't decide which one to main, I can feel you. I can feel you. Yeah. Yeah, not shocking. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. I thought Ritualists would be able to summon spirits through function buttons, so the idea of summoning them through the shroud feels unnaturally forced. Yeah, I think that it was... I personally think that's an interesting idea. That the Ritualist gets to summon spirits in the shroud. And I thought actually it would be like Scourge, that you have like F2 to F5 or something and you can summon multiple spirits. But it is in the shroud. So it's very interesting that they said, okay, the shroud is connected to the spirit summons in a way that you have to be in the shroud to have the spirits up. Because it's like, okay, you combine the Ritualist of Guild Wars 1 with the Necromancer in Guild Wars 2 and force both of those things in the shroud. Very interesting concept. I'm with you there. I'm not sure if that's just like the most, like the best way to do it. But I personally think it's actually, if it like stays like it currently is, I think it will be a strong spec. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying the design decision to make it like that is very interesting. Very interesting. But you have to think about it. It's already like is able to summon 3 spirits and keeping them up like not permanently, but quite long. And if you then add all the minions, you actually have like a big army of spirits and minions running around. So I think that's like the whole fantasy, the whole idea, that they wanted to have something that is that you summon a lot of things. That is the whole idea of this spec. And I think a lot of people will enjoy that, for sure. I had to decide between Elementalist, Scrapper, and Mesmer. I decided on Elementalist because I like downstate. Yeah, it's not too bad anymore. You know, I have the Jadebot core tier 10, so if you have that, to get a lot of vitality, and you actually are able to get your health pool a bit more up, and then it's not too bad. Yeah, it's not too bad. To be honest, in the moment, only Gale Shot looks good. The rest of it is kind of not bad. Yeah, I mean, I think the Gale Shot one is, in my opinion, from the class fantasy, the best. I personally like the Gale Shot the most, even though I'm not like a classical ranger like One Trick or something. But I like the Gale Shot in terms of class fantasy. It's a perfect fit. I think the others are not bad necessarily. I might not like all the class fantasies, but I think the gameplay, the mechanics looks actually for most of them quite strong. I actually would say very strong. But it obviously depends a bit who you ask, you know. I'm currently looking to play Revenant, Warrior, Guardian as a support character. I like Revenant the most, but it's difficult to play in any content. Yeah, that's the thing. Revenant... Really, that's why I have the high hopes for the new Elite spec, because Revenant right now is in a spot where it's somewhat niche in all content. It's not bad in those niches, but it's not very flexible. And I really hope that the new Elite spec will be some kind of powerhouse as anything in like supporting DPSing and stuff. So I really hope that this will be like really, really strong. But I don't know, could be anything. I think it's some kind of Cryptis Demon or something like that. But that doesn't make like the gameplay already good. So we will see, we will see. Welcome, Sender Yoshi, welcome, welcome. I know it's a dumb question, but can you explain to me what combo fields and finishers are, how they work? So I have actually a YouTube guide about that. I can actually give you the link to that, give me a second. But this is like a very good question for a new player, I would say. And I can give you the link to it because it's very detailed in this YouTube guide. But, or not detailed, but very concise. Give me a second. This is the link. So this is the video. And I explain it in very much detail how those work. But in general, it's like a core feature of Guild Wars 2 that is not as important in the normal game right now, because the power creep and feature creep did not make combo finishers and that kind of stuff that relevant anymore. But they are still good, don't get me wrong. It's just not like the main focus of the game anymore. So be sure to watch this video because it explains it very concisely. That's the thing there. I'm curious about Elementalist and Engineer. Yeah, I think actually Engineer, like I said, all the 3 ones are like really Engineer, Evoker, and Revenant look, I really hope they will be crazy good. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I think I'm with you, Black Magic. I'm really worried about those of the game's integrity with all those like lethal blow ignoration and like just in general like crazy like distortion or just in general invulnerability and stuff, and just damage reduction. It looks very like tanky and bunkery and stuff, especially in competitive modes, but even in PvE it looks like you can ignore almost all mechanics of old encounters and only one-shot attacks are killing you now. It's really, I'm a little bit scared with the mechanics design, to be honest. Yeah, the mobility of the Gale Shot is amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. Favorite elite specs so far? So I'm personally like, my favorite run right now, just from the fantasy and how it plays, is Gale Shot. But from a terms of brokenness, I actually expect to be the Troubadour. I think the Troubadour is looking insane in terms of brokenness. But I actually, from the fantasy, I'm actually with Gale Shot. I think Gale Shot really fills the like bursty, like fast mobility, but not too tanky spec. I really enjoy this kind of playstyle. So I will probably play that a lot in competitive modes and even in PvE as a DPS spec, because it's quite flexible. You know, you are fast, you have evades, you have some ranged in there. It's really nice overall kit for DPS build. I actually enjoy it. Really looking forward to try that out. Yeah, I mean, we don't get any new weapon with the elite specs, but there could be some kind of summon. They know it's the evoker after all, you know, you summon something, it's like a summoner. So there could be some kind of greatsword in there, but I don't see it, to be honest. I really think they are summoning some minions or some kind of like ghosts, and that's it. I don't see that there will be some interactions with a new weapon, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a completely new shrouds for Elementalist and you wield a greatsword, you know, could be, or longbow even. I have no clue. I have no clue there. I'm not sure how is the connection? You know, let me know, guys. Is it still laggy? Is it okay to watch now? Because if it's okay, we can continue. If not, we have to stop the stream. If it's like really laggy, then I have to like say not today, I guess. Ah, you used all your skins, yeah. It's great. Very good. No issues? Perfect. I mean, I don't know what happened then, why my internet connection was earlier so bad. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we can go for Iceblood Saga strike mission. Yeah. Let's set it up. Give me a second. I have to check something else first. 1 second. So there we go. So you can join if you want. Final one. If you know my account name, you can just squad join me. What is the best spec for engineer when I want to play power shortbow? I mean, I would say Holosmith for competitive modes, but in PvE there is not really a power shortbow spec. It's really like in competitive modes, it's Holosmith for sure. In PvE, I don't know, it's a support weapon. You wouldn't play it on a power build typically in PvE. It's just not how it works. Yeah. Nice. If it's stable, then we are continuing. If it's stable, then we are continuing. That's how we do it. Yeah. But let me know if there are again some lags going on. Yeah. Yeah. So final one. If you want to join, just join the group. I will find other people around you. So if you want to join my group, Iceblood Saga 5 strike missions, if you do have a decent build, you know, you should not, like, if you have never done it, if you have no build at all that works or something, if you're not even level 80, then of course don't join. But if you have some clue of what you're doing, then you just type squad join / squad join and my account name here, and you will actually get there. Or my character name is even better. Yeah. Won't Chrono always be great since it's the only class that can do both alacrity and quickness? So yes, it is a good spec because it can switch between alacrity and quickness, but it can't provide both of them permanently. So it's not better than the others, it's just more flexible. So I would say if they take Chronomancer's, for example, quickness away, or Alacrity away, then it will be not as broken anymore. But it is still in a spot right now, especially if they remove its like stability access with the distortion, which they will. That's already like confirmed. Then, in my opinion, I can send the link to join. Give me a second. But you know, please, I can't. You know, please be decent. You know. So. So this is the link. It should work, doesn't it? There we go. No, wait. And in front of that, why didn't that work? Yeah, I know. This is what you have to type without the dots. This is what you have to type without the dots. Then you're in my group, if you're on EU. So we are looking for... So you have to... Please tell me your role if you join. Yeah, if you join, please let me know your role. If you're on an 8, then you can't join my group. I mean, you can join, but we can't play together. Okay, Alacrity heal, very good. Then I look only for quick DPS now. No, don't worry. I mean, you can join. Don't worry. We will get you through. Sorry, Mo, that you can't join then. We will get you through. If you have a decent build, we can do it. You know, that's how it works. Yeah, I mean, if you quickness catalyst sounds like a good build. I think you can join the EU group, but you can't get in this instance. So, you know, it's like really weird because you can also send money and gold and I mean gold and skins and that kind of stuff. So it's like the servers are connected. You can also transfer from an EU to an A or the other way around, but you can't get, so to say, in the instance because it's a different server system. It's really weird. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Swap to an A just for one person so that we can get it going. Yeah, so let's check if someone is quick DPS here. We just need 2 quick DPS. Okay, so then we have Shaman goes quick DPS, that's good. And we need one more. One more, please. I mean, it's the interesting part is that you can send in-game gold and stuff around between the servers without any problem. For example, the trading post is obviously also the same. You know, you can actually just sell stuff to allies that are on an A. Yeah, works perfectly fine. With viewers only. Yeah, exactly. Viewers only. Yeah, I mean, if no one is there, then we will get some fill-ups from the pack scene here and see if we get some quick DPS. Yeah, welcome, Alchemy. Welcome. So let's see. Hopefully we get some quick DPS now, and then we can get all in group 1 can go. Nice, very good. There we go. We have it. We can now fill for DPS and everything should work out fine. Let's do some strike missions now and see if the boons are fine. Does your PvE tier list build video apply to fractals and strikes, or are these build meant for open world? So I have one tier list that is specifically for open world. That is already in the tier list. You know, if it says open world solo builds or something like that, then it's for open world only. And I have one tier list that is like, if you talk about like PvE DPS, if you talk about quick DPS and heals and stuff, they have all specific tier lists, and those are for raids, strike missions, fractals, all that stuff that is instance, convergence and stuff. If you are looking specifically for fractal tier list, I also have that. You know, I'm after all a tier list enjoyer, so you can check that one out as well. And yeah, that is just just let me know what you are looking for and I can send you the link, or just type !guides, !builds, sorry. And there is a spreadsheet there, and there is a specific part of the spreadsheet is about my tier list, so you can check those out as well. There we go, we have a full group, that's what we like. Welcome, Braun, welcome. You enjoy my content? Perfect, that's what we will, then we will continue, you know, that's what we want. More concise videos about Guild Wars 2 in the future. Yeah, exactly, that's what we want to hear. Glad you enjoy it. I actually don't know, Mo. I actually don't know. You know, it's always fluctuating. Sometimes the gem store prices are going up, sometimes the gem prices are going down. That will always influence how your account value is. I think your account value is a very volatile value. You should never say, oh, this is like the only thing that is like insane. I have like, I don't know, so much value and now it's like 200k higher. That is always like, you can't say this is guaranteed to stay like that. It's really volatile. So yeah, just try to have fun, try to get a higher account value, but don't like the actual absolute number is not like the thing that is like mattering too much. So let's increase. So let's double check. I'm always forgetting if I'm alacrity. Yep, looks good. There we go. Very happy to hear that, trainer. Very happy to hear that. When they release the fashion templates, will they allow us to save different gliders per builds? That might be, yeah, that might be actually in there. I actually think that gliders, maybe outfits as well, have a specific place in those fashion templates and you can swap them. Yeah, could be, could be. I mean, I guess then we just go. But yeah, I think the fashion templates, they think they will be good, don't get me wrong, but I think there will not be everything in there. I think my expectations now are that the wardrobe system, I really hope that we will get a rework to infusions and that the skins of infusions and stuff will be in there. But they didn't mention it in the blog post. So I'm actually fearing that it will not be the case, but who knows? Who knows? It could be, could be. Do you have any videos on setting up Arc DPS or the boon table? Not yet. I'm working on one actually. I don't like want to promise anything, but I really want to get it out in the next few weeks. Yeah. About Arc DPS, a guide about it. Yeah, I'm working on it, so it's on very high on my to-do list. I started the week with 10k gold. Now I have 800 left because I geared so many characters. Yeah. I mean, I know the problem. You know, it's always like, I need this, and then the gold goes down. Yeah, that's how it is. You know, it's after all, you want to have some goals and some grinds going for it. Yeah, that's how it goes. But that's, you know, that's part of the game. That's fun, in my opinion, at least. The one excluding gem store stays consistent. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. Then it's probably gem prices like going crazy. Yeah, that is probably the reason then. You think the Troubadour will be good as a power DPS build because of the flexibility? I think Troubadour will be a decent power DPS. I think it will not be like the main thing though. I think the main thing of Troubadour will be that it will either be support, full support with a heal, or it will be offensive boon DPS. I don't see it being played as a crazy full DPS build. You can play that, don't get me wrong, but I think in most cases you would probably go for something else instead, because it will be strong in the first month after release. It's like every single benchmark of the new elite specs will be higher than the old elite specs, that's just how it goes. But they will nerf it back down, and then I think it will not be like the craziest DPS pick anymore. That's my like analysis, but my expectation. But I'm not completely sure. It could be wrong. Thanks, by the way, all for the follows. Really appreciate it. Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, releasing always new build guides. That is obviously the main focus of my channel and stuff, making new build guides and stuff. So I'm sorry if you like get caught in the crossfire and you purchase a lot of stuff for your new builds then. But I mean, it's also part of the game. It's fun after all, you know. Thanks, Ando, for the Prime. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the support. Hope you enjoy the stream. And hopefully it's not lagging too much right now. Looks better at least for now. Yeah, but like I said, I think getting new builds set up in Guild Wars 2 is, at least in my opinion, one of the things that is the most fun and most like, I don't know, generally, universally like long-term commitments that you can get in the game. You know, it's like insane how much long-term commitment you can get in the game by just trying out new builds all the time. If you stick to one class, one build all the time, you will get bored rather fast. If you play different classes and different builds, different elite specs, different game modes even, you have a lot. And I mean a lot of stuff to discover. So yeah, I'm actually like really enjoying that kind of type of Guild Wars 2. Yeah. But I can understand if it's not for you. It's like after all a big time commitment, and like you also have to be interested in trying all those classes. What's my all-time favorite infusion, cosmetic-wise? I actually really like the Mystic infusion. I don't know why. I think the Mystic infusion is not the most exciting one from a look perspective, but it looks really cool in my opinion. I actually think it's exactly what I would put on my characters. I'm not a big infusion enjoyer because I play like I have 70 characters. So if I purchase one expensive infusion right now, I have it on one of my 70 characters. That's a little bit sad. So I really hope for some rework there so that I actually get value out of that. So that maybe I can bind it to my account and can use it on each character once. That is way better. I'm hoping for that. But right now I'm actually not big in the infusion fashion game. Yeah. Please make sure to add a guide for the healing add-on. Yeah, that is true. The healing add-on, I will definitely mention it because the healing add-on is, I have it installed, but almost no one else has it installed. And it's like really sad because it's such a cool thing. If everyone would have that installed, it's like really nice to see how much healing you actually did. But yeah, I will do that. Don't worry. That's why it takes a while, because I want to make it really like good, concise, and still put everything in there. Because there's a lot of stuff to talk about with the add-ons in Guild Wars 2, especially Arc DPS. I see the vision to cook, but it's just executed in such a clown way. Yeah, I actually, to be honest, you know, I'm with you there, Winslow. I think the Antiquary is one of the specs that is like the most promising in terms of mechanics. But the fantasy, the class fantasy is a little bit overcooked in my opinion. It's for me, I'm not a lore guy, but this looks a little bit too crazy. But the mechanic of the class is actually, I think, really cool. It's one of the best like elite specs in terms of new unique mechanics. If you compare it to the Luminary, you think like, okay, the Luminary is very dull, whereas the Antiquary is really cool with how many different things we have. So after this run of the Iceblood Saga Strike missions and the Dragonstorm, I will talk about the Antiquary and the Paragon in very much detail, and I will analyze everything that we know about them. So be sure to stick around for that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, always happy to hear that feedback. So thanks for that, Senayoshi. Really appreciate it. Yes, I have quite a lot of them. You know, I played the game for way too long. That's why I have so many characters. That is correct. Isn't it kind of stupid that Mesmer is getting a new support spec though? They're like the last class in the game that needs support specs. Yeah, I think the thing is what you don't like have to, you can't forget that I think almost all the specs with the exception of the Antiquary have support baked in. So they really want to cover DPS and support on the same spec. So currently it really looks like Chronomancer, Mirage and Troubadour will be the support specs. So yeah, I guess that's what they are going for. But I think the Troubadour will be playable as a Conti and a power DPS build as well, without any support. So will it be broken? Probably at release. Will it be meta after like 2 or so months? Probably not. But I think you can play it. So I'm with you there. It seems a bit weird that Troubadour has to be a support, but it makes sense with the class fantasy. Maybe they should have given the Troubadour to Ranger, like as a spec there, maybe as a Bard, and then give Mesmer something else, but that's like, if, you know, that's just, we can't speculate about that. Yeah, I'm with you, Winslow, I'm with you. I love different builds, but making a support spec to complete with Chronos seems just like a losing battle. Yeah, wait guys, for the ready check. What's going on? That's fine. Next time, please wait for the ready check. You know, we don't want to lose here people. It's fine. We actually didn't lose anybody. Crazy. Nice, we got the CC as well. You know, Chronomancer CC. Pretty busted. Nice, we even got the pull. Deluxe. Good job, everyone. Please stick on the tech. It's like, this boss is not too bad. It's, you know, just like Ooh. I try to heal as much as I can, but I think we will lose someone maybe. Give some healing, some healing. Was a bit close. Probably should have gone for the safer route here. Why are we taking so much damage? It's actually crazy. I mean, we only have one healer. I'm healing for the whole squad, I think. That's not good. I'm not sure if I can keep you alive for a whole run. All of them. Maybe we still have one healer. I don't know. It looks weird. Looks weird. Classic. Pugging Bone Skinner for the most part. There's always someone dying. I almost never see a Bone Skinner done correctly. It's fine. It's fine. We will get the gold reward anyway, I hope. I don't even know why I'm getting so much damage from this one. I really don't know. Looks like insane damage to me today. It's fine, we did it. I think we got like all the torches like instantly deactivated or something weird. I think for the expansion after this one, we will get another weapon set. Could be, yeah. I'm not sure if there will be another expansion and how it will look like, but if, I think we will maybe get a new weapon. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. All Guardian Spec for Firebrand have been done. Yeah, I mean, Firebrand is like definitely the one that is the most exciting. I'm with you there. I think that is like definitely by far the one that is like insane amount of like theory, crafting, and class fantasy design wise. So it is high expectations. I'm with you there. Nice, Ando, thanks a lot. 10 gifted subs. You're a legend. Thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Very good. Crazy. Thanks. Really, really nice. Thank you so much. No, I mean, I'm typically on YouTube and Twitch. That's are my two things. I have a YouTube channel and I have my Twitch channel that you are on currently. I stream like typically 3 times a week. And I release like daily Guild Wars 2 videos. That's my stuff that I'm doing. Yeah. So thanks for your support. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, Kamil. Welcome. So is everyone here? I think someone is missing. What's your opinion on the new Thief spec? Don't know why, but I feel like it will be the most spec for fun trolling. Yeah, like I said, I will actually be talking about it, like we will do this boss and then we will do Dragonstorm and then I will do a full deep analysis of the Thief spec and the Paragon, so the Warrior spec as well. And I can tell you, I'm actually positively surprised about the Antiquary. I did not expect that much, to be honest. I think it looked like really bad to me in the trailer. Not as I would enjoy it, but it looks surprisingly good, the gameplay of it. So I'm really excited to talk about it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that my videos have been helpful. You know, I have to put a lot of effort into those, so it's really nice if I can help people with that. That's really good. I like it. So let's do this boss. Don't die to the chains. I have to watch the screen, not only on the chat, but it's fine. I'm glad Thief is getting an interesting build. The class really needs it. The initiative system has a lot of trouble making for fun PvE builds. Yeah, I think that's the problem with Thief, that the core mechanic of the initiative makes the class design a little bit, I wouldn't say like dull, but makes it very, like, you really want to always spam the most optimal attacks. And that makes the general idea of a class, of how to play a specific build and stuff, somewhat boring, or somewhat like very, I wouldn't say necessarily boring, but it at least makes it a little bit less interesting and a little bit less flexible, because you always want to spam your builds attacks that have the best like choice for your build. You know, if you're a Condi build, you want to spam the highest damage Condi attack, and you will use all your initiative for that. Why would you use something else? So I think Spear solves that a little bit, but now the Antiquary definitely has like insane potential with all the insane mechanics that are like, you get some initiative refund, you get some interesting another stealing skills. They change up how your steals work. Sometimes it's like very luck based, sometimes you can make the RNG a little bit less like like RNG dependent. So I really think this will be a really cool spec. So I'm really looking forward to play that one, even though I did not really enjoy the trailer and how it looked in the trailer. But I personally really expect it to be a really, really good spec. So yeah, we will see. I think it will be really obnoxious in competitive modes, though. I think it will be really, really strong. It looks crazy how much like utility you have in your steals. It's really, really, really strong. Good DPS, good group. I like it. We lost 2 people and still have like 38 seconds left on the clock for the gold reward. Good. We like it. Any Spear Thief build one out there? I mean, there are a lot of them actually. You can play Daredevil, you can play Deadeye actually on Thief, you can even play Spectre with a Spear. It's actually surprisingly good, but it's not the easiest. It's one of the hardest builds to play for any PvE DPS. So, yeah. Thief section guild was 2 forums and understandably in an uproar. Yeah, I think like, I don't know, the class fantasy of the Antiquary is still not, I'm still not sold on it, but I think the class mechanic itself looks actually quite good. I actually have to be honest. I'm surprised that it looks quite fun and pretty strong. So I think that's, for me as a gameplay enjoyer, I think that's all I asked for. Even though the class fantasy is debatable if that's a good one. So I can understand why people would be a bit sad about that. Yeah, you just keep increasing my analysis paralysis when I see your new build. I'm sorry, you know. If you have any, like, you can just join my Discord if you have specific questions as well, so I can answer them there. Or just comment if you have a specific, like, you want to get a really high tip, which kind of build you want to play and which one not. We lost 1 DPS, I guess. Let's go. Oops. There we go. Spear Thief really changed it up for me. Yeah, I think Spear was like the biggest thing where I would say, oh my god, this is like now finally a spec for Thief or a weapon for Thief where you would not only spam like, I don't know, below 50%, you would use your Heartseeker, you know? That was like the rotation of a Thief on a power build. And now it's a little bit more like, okay, you have the combo system for the Spear. You have some interesting mechanics that are going on top of your initiative. So I'm really like happy that this was introduced. 2 fire, 3 ice. Welcome, Bakpa. Welcome. On Friday it will be decided how much their mains will change. Yeah, I agree. I think Friday will be very hot. I mean, probably even on Wednesday already when we see what Revenant will get, what like Engineer will get, because we don't know too much about them. So I'm really excited to see what we will get there. Medium Armor seems like the winner so far. Yeah, probably. I don't know, it depends a bit. I think that they all look really strong, don't get me wrong. I think all of them look strong. I think from a class fantasy, I think the Gale Shot is my most favorite one like right now. But it might change, you know, maybe the Engineer, maybe the Revenant, maybe the Evoker will be the most interesting. We will see. I'm just very excited about that one. Yeah, I think Ritualist is interesting. Don't get me wrong. I think the class mechanic is not too interesting, though. I actually think that the class mechanic of Ritualist is Core Necromancer with a minion build. That's about what summons it, which is not... It's not bad, you know, it's not bad. But I think the class fantasy of the Gale Shot is a little bit more fleshed out in my opinion. It's really fitting. I really like that kind of playstyle. It's just my personal take on that. You know, I can definitely see why you would like the Ritualist, why you would like the Troubadour. Yeah, sure. And just my personal analysis there. Yeah, it was... The interesting part is that the cards, you know, the card icon of the Thief one is really like, why did they give it cards if there is like one attack that is like somewhat similar to card drawing? One attack out of all of them, it's like card drawing. I think they were a little bit like lost and did not know which kind of icon they should give it, and then they gave it like this, and we are now a little bit sad about that. Yeah. Spear Thief or Elementalist? I think if you are looking for a really high DPS build that is quite challenging, go for Spear Thief. It's actually a not that easy build to play, but it's really fun, really strong. I think Elementalist is like currently really high benchmark, really strong build, but I would say it's not as fun as the Spear Thief, to be honest. That's my analysis there. Thanks for all the follows, really appreciate it. Yeah, it's fine. It's completely fine. If it's a like legit link, like to Snowcross or something, it's completely fine to link it. Don't worry, don't worry. I'm after all always like talking to those guys because they are like the best of the best, so to say. Yeah. We don't have any concept, it seems, of the engineer or revenant. People guess the other professions quite easily. I really want a good engineer spec because mechanist, yeah, I'm not a big mechanist enjoyer either. I really hope that the new one will be no pets at all. I really think that we had enough of those for, yeah, engineer. I think mechanist was like delivering like on that for like the next 10 expansions in my opinion. But I hope it will be some kind of like metallurgist or something like that, Quicksilver, something like that. I think that looks promising. But how the class mechanic would play out, I have no clue. I really don't know. We will see. I really, like I said, I can't wait for Wednesday or even Friday to see all the crazy, interesting mechanics of it. For sure. Yeah, I mean, you gamble with your utilities. I see that with the cards, but I think people would have liked it way more if there would be like a real card drawing and stuff. People would have liked that even more. But I would say it's if they would have like not shown the trailer, would have not shown us the icon, I think the class would actually been quite well received. But the problem is that people got so many different expectations from those card icons, from the trailer, or from what people thought it would be, that not a lot of people actually enjoy how this now plays out. At least what I see on the forums, what I see in the comments and stuff. A lot of people, especially the Thief mains, seem a little bit upset about that. But, you know, you can't please everyone, I guess. So none of the 3 elite specs compared to Thief? I mean, it depends. I think, personally, I don't like to play Thief in PvE that much, or in general in Guild Wars 2, because it's a very niche spec. It's a little bit like Revenant. Elementalist is way more flexible, you know? If you think about filling an Alacrity DPS role, you think about Spectre, yeah? That's it. If you want to play any boon DPS on a Elementalist, you can play Quickness Catalyst. You can play Alacrity, like, Alacrity DPS Tempest. You can play Alacrity Heal Tempest. There are so many different options. Alacrity, Quickness Heal Catalyst. There are so many options on Elementalist. So Elementalist is more flexible. But I think personally, if you just look at one weapon and how it is designed, I personally actually think that the spear on Thief is probably one of the best spears they ever released. Yeah, I think it's probably one of the best. So it always depends, you know, if you like the fantasy, if you like the playstyle. Just try it out. You will find it what is better for you. Scrapper makes my hands hurt, and Holo is fun, but give me variety. Yeah, I'm with you there. I really hope that the new engineer spec is like not some kind of mech clone, and then I'm happy. You know, that's the only thing I'm asking for. Paragon and Luminary looked like the weakest so far. Paragon on the traits. Yeah, I think Paragon traits are like the most boring ones. Don't get me wrong, they look really strong. But they look quite boring, you know? Just like, okay, you get some alacrity. That's the trait. It's not like some kind of cool interaction or something. No, you just get alacrity by pressing 2 buttons or something. It doesn't look that exciting compared, for example, to the Troubadour or even the Gale Shot, where you change like complete how the gameplay loop of the class plays. So yeah, I'm really hoping that the new 3 that we will get are exciting again in terms of traits. But don't get me wrong, like I said, after this Dragonstorm, we will analyze the Paragon and the Antiquary quite deeply and go over everything here. And I have to be honest, I think both of them are really strong. A lot of people say, oh, Paragon is a little bit dull, but I think it is really strong. You will see how strong it will be when it comes out, but I really expect it to be like insane in terms of like playability in all game modes. It's probably really, really good. Yeah. They showed on Reddit that the card icon is the same as the collection icon in your achievement. Yeah, I think it's similar, yeah. Yeah, that is true. That's a good point. That's what I'm saying. They could just take out this grid and put a chatbot instead, but some of the artifacts are goofy too. Like that guitar one is like kind of yucks. Yeah, I mean, they wanted to make it so that it covers different aspects of the game. Like the Metal Legion concert was that one with the guitar. But I'm with you. It feels a little bit goofy, some of them, and that's not what you want to have in like a serious fantasy game. I think it's already debatable that in Guild Wars 2 there are so many, like, I don't know. Yeah, magic combined with technology is already a little bit like, you can argue that this is not the perfect high fantasy that you want to get from a game where you have mages and stuff. But then on top of that you have someone playing a guitar to kill you, that is like very goofy. Yeah, I see that. But I'm not a lore guy. I don't care about that. But if you care, I could see that argument for sure. Yeah. Yeah, maybe on something else than other than Thief, maybe that would be like a thing that I would say, okay, maybe on, I don't know, Engineer it could be more suited, but I think it's never really suited the guitar, to be honest. I think the guitar is just a little bit like, for example, if you know the Dreamer or the Quip Legendary, those are like very similar, you know, it's like the goofy thing on Thief, yeah, that's a little bit like it. Yeah, was good, I like it. Was actually good DPS, final one, I like it. Good DPS, good quickness uptime, very good. Good. Very good. Yeah, and now we can go. Let me set it up, give me a second. Set it up, the live stream. I want to talk about the live stream. So, there we go. Let's quickly set up the stream. There we go. So, I want to talk about it. Of course, I will give you my analysis of the live stream, how it worked, how it looks, Paragon and Antiquary in particular. If you want to get my Ritualist one on the other 3 that we got last week, be sure to check out my YouTube channel. If you're on Twitch, you can type !Ritualist and get the Ritualist video link there. And I will analyze it here deeply, and I will talk about the Paragon first and go over the specific class mechanic, then the utility skills and the traits. I will also interact with you on the chat, of course, if you have any like feedback there or ideas. I'm always happy to talk about that. I just want to explain it here for everyone that didn't watch the stream yesterday that we got from the developers. And I give you my takes on it, of course, as well. So we will see. You say you really like how the Thief Spec looks like gameplay-wise. Why? What is the thing that makes it interesting? Yeah, I will tell you that in like half an hour. You know, first Paragon, then I will go to Antiquary. Yeah, that's how it will turn out. Yeah. Welcome, Filthy. Welcome. Okay, so let's start. We have here the Paragon. How does the Paragon work? So the Paragon gets to still have the burst mechanic while having 3 new elites. Yeah, profession mechanic skills, the F2, F3, and 4. Those will always stay the same, they are not weapon dependent. Of course, you still have your weapon dependent F1 burst, but this F1 burst will only be the level 1 burst, so it will only take 1 adrenaline bar away, even though you have 3, and it will also only get the level 1 burst attack. So it will not have like the crazy, for example, fury uptime of the greatsword or something like that. But it's really important, the burst, because it fuels your other F skills. Now we will get to that in a second why. But here on the right side you can see we actually have another profession mechanic. This one is really important because you stack that up with your chants. And this is like, I can scroll a little bit ahead. Whenever you use one of your chants, those would be F2, F3, F4, you actually get those stacks. Yeah, and these stacks here change how effective your chants are. So your chant will do an initial attack. So the F2 will give some boons, the F3 will give some healing, the F4 will give other boons, and those will be more effective if you have a higher level of your stacks here. Yeah, and those stacks will be trained by the not initial effect, but the pulsing effect that comes after the initial effect of those chants. And the interesting part is those stacks, if you can upkeep them, you can get those pulsing effects of those chants that you have here upkeeping permanently. So you can pulse out some might, some fury permanently if you have consistent like generation of those stacks. That's the whole mechanic. Those stacks here will be generated by using your F1 skill or using any other F2, F3, F4 skill. Those will, so to say, generate more stacks, while the F2 to F4 pulsing attack will also drain it. So this is the whole mechanic of this class. Yeah. They use longbow here because they can use the burst without hitting any enemies. The longbow burst will give the, so to say, hit effect of a burst skill even if you just hit the ground. That's one of the only burst skills that actually works like that. All the other bursts you have to hit an enemy to get all the traits procced. But the longbow burst will also work if you just use it under your feet. Okay, so let's talk about the F2 first. So the F2 is the chant of action. It will give on the initial attack some boons. And then it will some fury and some might, also for allies. And then it will give some more might and more fury depending on how much motivation, so your stacks here on the right, you will actually have, and it will decrease every time you get this proc. So if you have like this up, it will cost 1 motivation per proc of this. So it will slowly go down, but if you generated more motivation with the burst or other chance, you actually can upkeep that permanently and pulse some fury and some might out. So quite basic as a support. Let's talk about the F2. It's the chant of recuperation. This is like the healing chant. Costs 2 motivation per interval, and the initial thing gives some resistance, some healing, and some barrier. Or gives some barrier, sorry, gives only barrier. But the higher the level of the motivation, so if you have 10 stacks to 7 stacks, it actually heals for the most and gives some resistance as well. And the motivation cost is higher. Instead of 1 motivation cost per interval, it's 2 now. So it drains way more like harder. So that makes it a little bit like challenging to upkeep, but it's, I think, still somewhat possible. But the F4 is not possible to permanently upkeep at the highest level, because the highest level of the 4 gives swiftness, resolution, and stability proccing, and it costs 3 per interval, and it decreases depending on how high the motivation is. So if it's 4 to 6 motivation that you have, it doesn't give stability anymore, but it only trains 2 per interval. And then the 1 to 3 gives only swiftness, but it only costs 1. So I think 1 to 6 is not that exciting, but 7 to 10, the stability pulsing is actually surprisingly good. And it's also a stun break. And don't forget, those are like really interesting because they are like instant casts that have an initial effect already as well. So really cool idea. Let's see how this one plays out. I think it has not the like most insane usefulness for not being a support player. Maybe the healing one, but the other ones are like you make a lot of effort to get those chants off and pulse them out. And if you don't have any allies around, I'm not sure if the boons are like really the thing that it like keeps you alive. So I think that is like a full World vs. World Zerg support, or maybe a full healer support warrior in PvE. You can play it as a bruiser, I can see it as well, or some kind of like alacrity. Nah, you will probably play it either full DPS or will play it as a full support. You don't play it as alacrity DPS because we will get to that with the traits. Yeah. Yeah, I think the Firebrand is still probably the best support in World vs. World. I think Paragon will not go better than Paragon. Paragon will not be better than Firebrand in terms of stability, but it has some other utility. We will get to that with the elite skill, and I really think that Paragon will see a spot in World vs. World as a support. I'm pretty sure about that. It looks really, really strong, yeah. And yeah, that's the profession mechanic. I would say it's not like too hard to understand, but it's also not that easy to master, because you always have to manage not only adrenaline generation, because it's quite hungry there, but it will also you have to manage not only like understanding to get your motivation, but also upkeeping it while also doing your normal like boon uptime or healing of your weapon skills and stuff in rotation. So you have another layer on top, and it's definitely, I would say, the hardest to master warrior elite spec. I'm pretty sure about that one, even if the traits are not that interesting. But let's first talk about the utility skills. Yeah. So let's go to the utility skills. They are not that exciting, to be honest. I think they are good, but not that exciting. So the healing skill is just a basic healing skill, and all of the commands, as they are called, those class utility skills, have an initial effect, and they have some kind of echo. The echo will happen after 3 seconds, and it will have another proc of the exact same attack. So the beginning is just a healing for yourself and removes some conditions. Yeah. So you get some nice healing for your allies and condition cleanse. Okay, basic healing skill. But the echo will do the same thing again after 3 seconds. And the cool part here is that the echo will be after 3 seconds, but if you use a burst skill, this will be instant. So the burst skill triggers your echoes. That means that you can have some strategic gameplay where you can say, okay, I need the healing for my allies now. That's when you press your burst button. So you can't wait for 3 more seconds. Really cool idea, really interesting. So you can see it's all tied into getting bursts, getting adrenaline, using it to heal your allies or to get the procs. Really, really strong. Definitely really nice interaction there. So basic healing skill that has some cool interaction with the chance or the burst skills. Then you have find their weakness. That's again a command that does an initial attack. This is just a strike damage that will grant adrenaline. That's the important part. So you can hit 5 targets with that, get some adrenaline to use your more burst skills, and you get some might, depending on how many enemies you hit with the first command attack, the initial attack. So again, just to build some adrenaline and some might. Not too exciting, but that's about it. There we go. Never surrender. This is now your defensive utility skill. It's a stun break and you get some boons. The interesting part here is that's something new. It has a 15-second cooldown, and if you really break a stun with this and not use it only for the boons, it has a double cooldown. So it has 30 seconds of cooldown when you use that as a stun break. Really, when you are stunned and use it. But if you use it just for the boons, for the resistance as a resolution, you have a 15-second cooldown. That's a really cool idea, and they will do that in more elite specs in the future as well. That's what they told us. So I think that's a nice thing to make the feel not as punishing if you want to use it only for the boons. And if you use, of course, the echo effect is after 3 seconds, or if you use a burst skill, you give the same boons to your allies. Okay, quite nice. More resistance as resolution. Probably more of a competitive mode skill, but even in PvE, not too bad, I would say. So let's go to the next one. Brace yourself. That's an interesting one again, because it applies barrier to yourself and your allies. And it's actually not that bad of a barrier, especially if you use some healing power, because they don't use any healing power in this showcase, and it's actually already 2k, so you can get that up quite high, I would say, on a 15-second cooldown. Looks quite potent, and the echo will just give more barrier, yeah? So you will just have another like big barrier burst if you use a burst skill, or just after 3 seconds. So it looks quite promising. I think that looks like a good skill. I would use that in PvE. I'm not sure if you would use that in competitive modes, because it's not a stun break, it's just barrier, but I think it could still work. And the last one is on your knees. Just another damage, 5 targets. Again, adrenaline generation, and apply some weakness and cripple. The interesting part here is that the cripple can proc the leg specialist trait that you have on warrior, and therefore you could immobilize 5 targets AoE around you. That's something really, really strong in competitive modes. Probably in World vs. World a must-have to run, because it's like insane if you like have an AoE immobilize around you. Yeah, pretty nasty. So looks like a good skill for competitive modes and adrenaline generation. I'm not sure if you would run that in PvE. We will see. And the last skill, of course, is the elite skill. The elite skill is like insane, because it gives you those wings and those like yellow, orange aura. And what does it do? It prevents you from going into downstat or losing health below 1 HP. So it's really interesting how it works. You will get it instantly when you activate it. So for yourself, you will get it for 3 seconds. You cannot go below 0 health. And you will get some barrier. So that's it, after the effect ends. So that means that you get some life-saving barrier potentially, so that you don't die after the 3 seconds, potentially. And after the 3 seconds, your allies will get the same buff. So you first have it, and then the allies will get it. So that's the most important one that you understand if you want to give your allies this lethal blow in like ignorance. You really want to use your burst skill directly after that, so that the allies are actually getting this buff instantly as well. That's how it works. and it's a really strong skill, especially in some specific encounters where you can't invuln some attacks in PvE, but you still can use this attack to negate the damage. Or in World vs. World, of course, if you want to push through the enemy and you say, okay, now really aggressive push, we will give all subgroups give this effect and we can't be killed for 3 seconds, can go really aggressive, and after that we use all our heals. Really, really strong effect, and I think that's the bread and butter of why you would play Paragon in competitive modes, I would say. Really, really cool. So really see how this all fits together. I think it's a really nice design. So yeah, let's now talk about the traits, which are a little bit less exciting, I would say. So here the first one is gain motivation when you use your 4th or 5th weapon skill. This is just a powerhouse of a trait. It doesn't look like that, but if you use the longbow, for example, you have 4 skills that actually proc that, and you get 1 motivation when you use your 4 or 5. When you use a Warhorn example, it says short cooldown. You can get a lot of motivation by that. So you just get more spams of your chance out. That's good. That's just a very good minor trait. And then you get more strike damage and condition damage. The reduction while you have a lot of motivation up, that can be quite potent. That can be like 15 like damage reduction percentage. That's actually quite a lot if you have 10 motivation stacks up, but not too exciting. It's just a tanky trait. That's about it. Welcome Boruto. Welcome. Yeah, I mean, the question is if you really want to have a longbow, if you know, probably you would not use a longbow in PvE. Yeah, you're right there, Black Magic. But I think the longbow, to be honest, in competitive modes, I would see that being used because you have some value of getting this as some kind of like AoE might generation, maybe using it for blast finishers, or I'm not sure. I think the longbow maybe might not be the best choice in most game modes, you're right there, but you have a lot of short weapon cooldowns, so not shield, they don't want you to run shield for example, but for example Warhorn has short cooldown, maybe sword offhand, what else? But yeah, there are not that many crazy good offhand weapons. Maybe pistol. I don't know. It's hard. There are not that many support weapons, so probably you're forced to run Warhorn. I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah. Yeah, greatsword. I think greatsword is a meme at this point. I think warrior with a greatsword. I mean, they just don't want it to happen. I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, if each stack of the pistol 5 counts, they didn't say it. That would be crazy. Then we would run pistol all the time, I guess. That would be crazy, yeah. I mean, maybe. Yes, you can do that, Scorpion. You can do that. You could run Rival, yeah. Rival, why not? I mean, there are many options. Let's now go over the traits, because the traits are actually really, like, they are not that interesting generally, but they're really strong. So gain motivation when you enter combat. That's I think that's okay, but not crazy. If no refrains are active, automatically activate the refrain of chant of action. That's like just a very like open world trait. I think you would not run that in most situations in all other game modes, because it's like if the fight is longer than 15 seconds, this trait is useless. But yeah, okay. Then you have Calming Tongue. That's just a stat stick. You get more stats. That's it. You get more healing power and more concentration. That's a very boring trait. Again, not too exciting, but it's a good trait. You know, get more stats. And the last one is really interesting because you get more movement speed pathlessly, and Chill and Cripple have less effectiveness in terms of movement speed reduction. Again, a trait that you would never ever use in PvE, but in competitive modes, why not? You know, the other two don't look that exciting. I think this is the PvP trait, 100%. I think you would run that all the time. It doesn't matter if you're a bruiser, if you're a support, you would always run that one. Then you have Crisp Pacing. Using a chant reduces the recharge of your other chants, so that makes it more spammable. You will see that with another trait that provides alacrity. You really want to spam your chants with this trait, and just spamming F2 into F3 into F4 recharges the F2 and F3 and F4 all the time, and you spam it more often, giving alacrity and that kind of stuff. So it's like, this is the trait that you would use in PvE as a support all the time. Then heal yourself and gain adrenaline for each point of motivation spent. That's really potent as a bruiser. That's insane. You get so much healing out of that. It's crazy. And a lot of adrenaline. So really strong trait for competitive modes, I would say. In PvE, it's only for yourself, so I don't see that being run. Maybe for the adrenaline, but interesting trait for sure. That's the first one that is actually interesting, I would say. There we go. And this one, command echoes can trigger second time. This is again a trait that is not really like quite flashy, but it's really strong. That means all your commands will trigger another time, the echoes. And that means you can trigger them again by using 2 burst skills, for example, and get them all like instantly triggered. Or you can wait this 3 seconds and then another 3 seconds. And you can get the invulnerability like for your allies 2 times. Really, really strong. So you can actually get 6 seconds of invulnerability to your allies, so to say. It's not invulnerability, but close to it. So really interesting, I would say. What happens if Paragon build is on defense with Hammer? I mean, it works very well. I mean, that will be a very, very tanky bruiser build. It will probably not be a build that you would run in PvE, because why would you? You know, you have no support there. But I guess, yeah. Support Alacrity heal Paragon will probably make Quick Heal Berserker sit on the bench. Yeah, I think they both have a spot. Don't get me wrong, Filthy. I think both of them have a spot because the Quick Heal Berserker is very spammy, has a lot of boon output. I think Paragon struggles a little bit with all of covering like 11 boons at the same time. But I think Paragon has better general like flexibility a little bit because you have the invulnerability in there. You have potentially really, really strong barrier uptime and stuff like that. That's something that the Berserker doesn't have. So I personally think it has a spot besides it, but you're right, Alacrity heal is preferred. So I guess, yeah. We will get to it, Burst. Give me a second. Yeah. So next trait. This is the Alacrity trait. That's the one that I mentioned earlier. It's not too exciting, but it's strong. Whenever you transition to a different chant, so F2 into F3 and that kind of stuff, you actually give Alacrity around you. It is really strong with the trait that we mentioned earlier. So this one that gives you 2-second recharge if you swap your chants, because that means you get Alacrity and get the recharge. So really, really strong. But this is really interesting. This grants Alacrity in PvE only. In PvP and World vs. World, this grants Quickness. So very first time that we get Alacrity in PvE, where we get Quickness in competitive modes. Quickness is a really strong trait in competitive modes. Maybe not as strong as Alacrity, but it's still very, very strong. And it will be very obnoxious. If the duration is long enough, it will be absolutely obnoxious in all game modes. So just because of that, it will probably be like run in like competitive modes all the time. It's really, really strong. And then you have Strengthening Stanzas. That's the trait that makes it possible to play as a full DPS build. However, it's competing against the Alacrity trait, so you will never play Alacrity DPS because you don't have Alacrity or you don't have any damage, so you have to choose, and that's not good. So this will be giving you a 20% damage buff or 50% movements buff or minus 20% incoming damage buff. So really strong trait for full aggressive bruisers or something like that. But not for any support. This is like the trait that you take if you don't want to support your allies. Just baseline. Interesting part here for me is that it plus 20% lifesteal damage makes it quite interesting, for example, on 100 CM and fractals. So just a take there, but I'm not sure if it can get better than the Willbender for the Gluttony. But interesting for sure. And lastly, we have Enduring Refrain. That's a little bit like your refrain effects are stronger. And they have reduced costs. The motivation costs are lower. That is a trait that I would say maybe you run it competitive modes. But the thing is, you would never run it in PvE because you don't provide Alacrity and you don't take the DPS trait. So I'm not really sure what this trait is supposed to fill, which kind of role. But maybe in competitive modes to get the chance a little bit more active. So to say, have more pulsing. But I think that's, again, not too exciting. But maybe you take it, maybe. So overall, I would say Paragon for me has quite dull traits that are strong, but not too exciting in terms of how they play. It's just you take the one for Alacrity, you take the one for DPS. That's just very fixed. I think they need to rework maybe 3 of them to make it a bit more exciting. I really hope they do. I think the utility skills are decent, and I think the class mechanic is also quite fun. I think it will be a really good healer in all game modes. It might be a really good bruiser in competitive modes, and it probably will be a decent DPS in PvE as well. But there will be no Alacrity DPS. That is not existing in my opinion. And I think the interesting part is that the Paragon full DPS build still has access to the invulnerability. So I think it might be that you play a full DPS Paragon that just takes the lead skill of Paragon to get invulnerability to its party. So you have a really good defensive DPS, so to say, that you can take. just to negate some damage. Really interesting. We did not see that yet. The same goes for Troubadour, to be honest. You can play a full DPS Troubadour and take the distortion sharing, your elite skill. So very interesting how this interacts. We will see how the future turns out. So overall, I actually think the Paragon is not bad, but I think some people expected a little bit more interesting things. I think it will be very good, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying the fantasy here is not perfect, you know, it's not perfect. It could have been a little bit better. That's my take at least. I actually think that I would enjoy Mesmer more than Daredevil. I'm not the biggest Daredevil fan. Daredevil is okay, but I think Mesmer is more my class fantasy burst. Yeah. How do you provide perma quickness with Necromancer? So you can provide permanent quickness if you are in Harbinger and just use the trait that is in Shroud and then you can get it permanently. Or you can, nowadays with the Ritualist coming up, you can provide permanent quickness there as well by using the spirits. So if you want to know more about that, Scorpion, just type !Ritualist in the chat, and there is a full detailed analysis about the Ritualist spec coming up, where you can upkeep permanent quickness on your minions and yourself. Yes. If they can improve the traits on Paragon, it would be good. Yeah, exactly. I think if they would just make like 3, 4, maybe 5 traits a little bit more interesting, you know, some game-changing traits. You know, look at Troubadour, look at the Gale Shot, where you have traits that completely alter how you interact with your profession. That is way more interesting than just having a trait that says, okay, if you press this button, you now get alacrity. You know, this is like, okay, you know, it's strong, don't get me wrong. Giving alacrity with a button press is really strong, but it's not that exciting. It's way more exciting if you have from the Gale Shot, take this trait and then you get a reset on your arrows and then you use this skill into this skill and this skill and get a nice combo going. That's way more interesting than if you say, yeah, I mean, I just do the same stuff, but now I get a boon instead. You know, that's not too exciting. Or just a flat 20% damage increase is also not that exciting for a trait. So I really think Paragon, the utility skills and the utility or the class mechanic looks good. I like it. But the traits let it down a bit. It looks like the traits are not on point. They could have been way more interesting. That's at least my opinion there. I didn't see how they would take this over Chrono or Troubadour. Yeah, I think it will be a good support. It will be a good alacrity support, but I don't see why you would like say, okay, this is like the go-to. I would always take a Paragon over Chronomancer or Troubadour. I don't see anyone saying that, to be honest. I think Troubadour is way more flexible than Paragon is. And I think Paragon will be good in some specific encounters because you can't distort some specific attacks that are just aura ticks, for example. Whereas Paragon just prevents you from dying, which works against aura ticks as well. So there, Paragon will be really good, but that is very niche. It's not something that is crazy good. But what I also want to mention, this looks very competitive focused. A lot of the traits make it seem that it's really, really strong in competitive modes, whereas Troubadour is like working in both modes. So yeah, what can I say? We will have to see if they make some changes with the beta event coming up or how it plays in general. Maybe we have some crazy builds coming up no one has cooked yet and maybe it's like insanely good. We will see. Yeah. Been struggling to settle on a profession, been playing Firebrand, started to really dislike Guardian. So Soma, there are many things. If you don't like Firebrand, maybe try out Chronomancer. I think Chronomancer is really, really strong, but it depends what you want to play. Do you want to play a DPS build? Do you want to play more of a support? Because there are many roles that you might consider if you don't like Firebrand. So let me know more info and I can give you some like insight there. So let's talk about the Antiquary next. Where is it? So yeah, the Antiquary. What can I say? So the Antiquary is a very interesting spec. So people didn't like trailer. People expected, just because of the card icons, some kind of card gambit, like gambler, but didn't get it. So they were upset. And I think this is a spec that looks a little bit goofy. I admit that. But the class mechanic itself looks really strong. So I personally think this will be a meta pick in a lot of game modes. It will be really strong. It can't be played currently as a support in PvE. It will only be a DPS build. They are considering to give it some boon, but right now they don't have any quickness or alacrity on it, so you can't play it as a support. And it is a full DPS build, either power or condi. And in my opinion, in all game modes, quite strong. because of the class mechanic, and I think it looks quite fun as well. Yes, it might be the class fantasy not perfectly fitting to Thief or not in your interest, but I personally think it looks really potent, really, really potent. So let's talk about it. How does it work? So, Soma, I like the idea of supporting in group content, but want to play something that I can rely on in solo play. Ooh, let's think about this. What works good in solo play while also being a good support? I like Tempest. I always want, after the last balance patch, Tempest is so good. Play a Celestial Tempest. You have good supporting with it. You can play it easily as a solo build. It has good damage. It's just really flexible. I have a guide on it on my YouTube channel. Just check it out by typing !builds. You can check it out there. It's really, really strong. Really, really good build. Tempest, you can play full healer if you want it as well. Can go full aggressive. There's so many options. Welcome, Roaming Spirit. Welcome, welcome. So, let's talk about the Troubadour. I will start with the profession mechanic and explain it. And then I will go over the utility skills and the traits. And I will also always make pauses and stuff to actually give you some insight there. Thanks for the follow, Soma. Really appreciate it. Thief wanted magical card, Looping Glass. They got Summer Rose Trash blended into their face. Yeah, I mean, it looks a little bit like an April Fool's joke, I agree. But I personally think they have a really cool profession mechanic. I think I don't want to like be too hyped about it, but I think the profession mechanic looks really cool. I think it looks, for me, just from the profession mechanic, probably like better than Daredevil and Deadeye. I have to be honest. It's really interesting. So let's talk about it. So you will get the Scritch Snatch instead of your steal. It is not a teleport, it is a skill that will just give you interesting attack. Thanks for the raid, Nesfos. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We are just talking, going over the blog post from, or the not blog post, balance patch stream from yesterday. And I just explained how anti-query works, and the entry carry is actually, in my opinion, a really good designed elite spec that might look a little bit goofy, that the fantasy is not completely fitting to Thief. Yes, that is true, but the general, like how it plays, looks really strong. It's a really good DPS build in PvE, either power or condi, and I think it will be really good in all competitive modes. I really think so. So let's talk about how works the Scritch Snap. So the Scritch Snatch works like you steal from, or it will be the steal, it procs all your steal traits, but you don't teleport to the target. And you get 2 steal skills, baseline, F2 and F3. And they will be randomly drawn from 8 attacks. Yeah, 8 attacks you will draw out of the pool, 2 of them. There will be 4 defensive ones and 4 offensive ones. That's about it. They have all different attacks, and some of them are good for your situation, some are not. It's just random at this point. But you can alter that with the traits. So let's quickly go over the skills. First one is a really, really potent heal that is also an evade and a leap finisher and a like repositioning tool. That's a defensive artifact. It is really strong. You know, get a 4.5k heal that is also an evade, looks broken. And we see this with almost all of them. They look really, really strong. So this is the defensive one, also does some damage on it, but that's about it. Then you get the guitar. Yeah, the guitar, what can I say? I'm not the biggest fan of the guitar. It's just a damaging attack around you that does also some confusion, and the last hit also stuns. Yeah, I don't know. It looks like a weird, really goofy attack. I think the damage of that looks decent, especially because it has some condi damage baked in there as well in some CC. Probably useful in PvE and even competitive modes, but I think the attack of itself looks really goofy. And let's go. Then we have the server. That is really, really strong. It's a nice damaging attack that leaves some mines or some bombs behind. That looks very similar to the Revenant 3 on Spear. Just gives some damage and some burning. Looks really, really fun, and is actually quite strong, I would say, as an AoE skill. Looks really, really strong, I would say, as a damaging skill. What do we have next? This is the Cryptis turret. Again, full damage skill that just does some damage in an AoE. And sometimes a Scrit is hanging on the turret. That's the visual gimmick. Yeah, I mean, not too exciting, just a damaging skill. That's about it. Then we have another attack that does some AoE on the ground that you can see here, that applies some burning and does damage. Yeah, again, full offensive, not too exciting. you will see there are some really, really strong offensive ones, but the defensive ones are probably the ones that are like the most exciting in terms of like how they look. Let's go a little bit further. Then you have the Chuck Shield, it's just a projectile destruction, and also Light Field that does some damage. Yeah, looks like a decent skill again. And it depends a bit on the situation. You will see that some of them are really useful in some situations, but most of the time in PvE especially, you probably want to get the offensive ones. So you will see how this interacts with the traits, because sometimes you really want to get the offensive ones and the defensive ones will just be a DPS loss. So we really talked about getting RNG to decrease it with the traits so that you actually get a high DPS number consistently and not have to high roll, so to say. This is the Sephiroth Sun Crystal. It's just a really nice stun break and an evade that also does some burning at the end. Okay, not too exciting. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a nice stun break on an F skill. That's good. That's about it. But it also does some damage. Yeah, so don't worry. If you miss something of this stream or whatever, you can also check the video out on my YouTube channel in a full-fledged edited way. So I will upload that later today, I guess. So don't worry too much if you missed something here. Yeah, exactly, Final One. That's how it works. The mobs will be confused by the guitar, and then they will get confusion. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I think the visual effects look a little bit like. I agree. I think the visual effects are not as like crazy as I expected it to be, but I think the gameplay mechanic looks really cool. I have to be honest. It looks really cool. So the offensive artifacts you would use for damage, because they have higher damage typically than your attacks, and the offensive artifacts, in my opinion, are worth using because of the traits. We will get to the traits because they have some really interesting interactions with getting initiative back and that kind of stuff, and then it is very worthwhile using them. Yeah, so you are right, of course you would use weapon skills as well, but you would like make a rotation or so to say, where you use weapon skills until you run out of initiative, then you use artifacts, get some initiative back, and use again weapon skills. That's how you would do it. Yeah, that is true. It is definitely will be a good spec for open world. Okay, then I think we have one or two more. The last one is the Holo Dancer. This is just a taunt skill. Really good, I would say, on competitive modes. If you put that on a point in PvP or something, really annoying. But in PvE, yeah, just a CC skill. That's about it. Yeah. Okay, so this is the profession mechanic, and then we go to the utility skills. So the utility skills are double edges. That's the class mechanic. It's just a attack or some kind of utility skill that has another attack that you can use when it's recharging. So you can use this anti-venom draught once, then it has a 10-second cooldown. It heals you and gives you a Condi cleanse. If you use it again, you get another effect of the same anti-venom draught. So you get another healing or condition cleanse and condition cleanse. But if you use it at like 10-second cooldown and you are unlucky, or I would say if you use it at 10-second cooldown, you are almost guaranteed to get the backfire skill. And this will be a skill that has a higher, it will be either punishing, or here on the healing skill will just give you a higher recharge. So it will increase the healing, but it will also increase the recharge of it. So the general idea is that when you use a backfire skill, or when you use a double edge skill, it's the second time, you have a chance to use the backfire skill. The chance will be 100% if the cooldown is 100% of the skill. If the cooldown of the skill is only 1 second left of this 10-second skill, you have a 10% chance of getting the backfire skill. So that's how it works. So you can use it 2 times, the normal skill, if you wanted to. If you use it and get the backfire skill, you will have the full cooldown and can't use it again. That's how this backfire mechanic works. It's very interesting. It has some gambling in there. But if you wait like for the last few seconds of a recharge, you typically will not get punished with the backfire skill. Or here on the healing skill, the backfire skill is not necessarily bad because you get a big healing burst. The normal double edge skill will typically only be used if you have a small Condi cleanse or something, or a small heal. But if you really pressured, then you would typically want to have the backfire skill because it heals you half your life. So really interesting mechanic. That one is not that punishing, or not punishing at all. So the second one that we get here is just damaging utility skill, some stone squid cannon, and does some damage. And if you use the backfire skill, it will give an AoE that explodes after a while, and you can easily walk out of that one. But if you get hit with it, it does some nice damage, or like to yourself as well. So sometimes you want to get the AoE attack, because if you get the AoE attack, then it will give even more damage for you. But if you get hit by it, of course, that's not nice. So you could see the orange AoE, that's the negative one that also can damage you, but it's not too punishing either. It's a nice damaging skill, nothing too crazy, some burning on there. The next one, the third one, this one is way more punishing. So this one is a teleport. So this is a teleport attack that has a 20-second cooldown. And if you use it again, it's another teleport, but it will knock you down. Yeah. So if you use it, you have a chance of getting the backfire attack, which will still teleport you, but it will be a 3-second self-knockdown. So it will be very punishing if you use that to engage in a fight and you get knocked down, because that means that you will probably die after that if you get a 3-second knockdown without a stun break. So really interesting how they interact this, that you get a double teleport if you wanted to, sometimes even triple, but you will get punished if you use it that many times. So really cool idea, especially because this is not a stun break itself, but you will get another stun break with the next utility skill. There we go, emergency shade shield. That's a stun break. So you can use that in combination with the teleport. So if you use it, you will get a barrier and it's a stun break. And if you use the backfire skill, it will give you some exploding damage to yourself that is actually really punishing, 50% of your health, but it's another stun break. So sometimes that can actually still make you survive. So again, the double edge mechanic can come in clutch if you use it for the stun break twice, but it can also punish you quite heavily if you get just 9k damage in your face. So really interesting mechanic. Yeah. Okay. And then we have one more attack, I think. Where we go. This is the Kanak Coin Toss. That's the only one that I would say is like really close to the card idea. So this is now you just toss 3 coins, and depending on how many heads and tails you get condition removed and initiative back. And if you get heads, you also get conditions converted into boons. And if you use that as a backfire skill, it will remove some boons for you, but you will still get initiative. They thought about making that a little bit different, but this is how it works. So it will just remove some boons from you for the backfire attack, but it will still give initiative. So yeah, it's an initiative skill, probably useful in a PvE build, but it's a little bit annoying if you remove your quickness or your alacrity from you. So I'm not sure if you would run this just to backfire it, I guess. But we will see. I think it's actually an interesting design idea, but I'm not sure if I like that, to be honest, too much to use that in any build. It's too RNG heavy if I spam that too much. And the last one is not really having too much of a backfire, which is the elite skill. The elite skill is just a Scrit Scuffle. It will summon a lot of scrits that will give you every 3 seconds, if you're standing in this AoE, 2 new in general attacks on your steel. So you get 2 different attacks on your steel, and that means you get just a lot of generation of those artifacts. And there will be an unstable script bomb in there, which is, so to say, another explosion of those that we saw earlier, just another explosion around you. So you don't want to use it typically, but the other, you will only get this on one spot. So you still get like 2 of them at least, and that means one of them might be the script bomb, but the other one will be something useful, and you can spam them or you can just keep them and they will refresh after 3 seconds as long as you stand in this field for 15 seconds. That's about it. So interesting elite skill, looks quite funny with all the script coming up here. And yeah, I mean, I would say in general, this negative backfire mechanic doesn't look like too punishing for most of the skills, but some of them can be quite punishing. So keep that in mind. I would say interesting gameplay wise, and you can see how this gives you different like new artifacts here. And the traits are way more interesting, to be honest. The traits change how this whole spec plays, and this is what I am a little bit as a gameplay enjoyer, why I'm way more excited about this spec than the trailer gave away, because the traits are completely in contrast to Paragon. The traits change completely how you play this spec and why the artifacts are so important, why you would use your backfire skills and that kind of stuff. So really, really interesting. So I will quickly answer some questions on the chat. Your Willbender build has 14k HP and will do the same damage as a Necro build with 10k more HP. Is Guardian not very weak in this aspect? So in PvE, you don't care about this. You know, the important part is that Guardian has a higher baseline toughness, so you get less damage than you would get on a Necromancer. And Necromancer is light armor class, so you get more damage. So yes, Necromancer might have more effective HP, but has more HP, but the effective HP is quite similar because you have a higher baseline armor on Guardian than you have on a Necromancer. But I would say, in general, in PvE, it doesn't really matter. You have so much active defensive from your supports, from your own H's and that kind of stuff on a Guardian that you are probably way more tanky on a Guardian than you are on a Necromancer. So just because your HP is lower doesn't mean that you are actually squishy. So I hope that makes it clear. In general, I would say Guardian is a spec that is surprisingly tanky even with the low HP pool, especially in PvE, but in all game modes actually. What list do you recommend for flipping, medium or high velocity? So I personally was using a lot of high velocity items. That was what I was flipping back then. But I think the market changed a bit away that you are probably better off using medium velocity items. I think the market is too saturated now. I think flipping for medium items is probably a better bet. Of course, if you are risky, you can also go for high reward items and flip those like legendaries and stuff, and that can be very worthwhile, but you can easily be undercut. So I think I have a guide about flipping on my YouTube channel. Be sure to check that one out. But in general, I would say medium items is probably the safest bet. Yeah. No problem. Always happy to help. Okay, let's talk about the trades now. So, trades. Trades are, yeah, of course, the first one just explains how the general mechanic works of the Antiquary. And then you get some barrier when you use a healing skill or a lead skill. It's a separate cooldown for each of those, so you get 2.6k barrier baseline. Okay, not that bad. Not that exciting either though. Then initiative whenever you use an artifact skill. That's what I meant. When you use an artifact skill, you get 2 initiative back. So that's really cool. Just baseline, you can use a weapon skills, use an artifact skill, use one weapon skills, use another artifact skill, and that's how you can actually get a lot of interesting combo potential. And that's not the classical Thief gameplay where you just play weapon skill, weapon skill, weapon skill, auto attack until you get enough initiative back and you use another weapon skill. This is way more interesting because you have to get some combos going, and it's not always the same artifact skills because there will always be some RNG in there. So I think that's a really cool, interesting idea already. It will be definitely high APM, and I'm not sure if everyone will like that, but I think it's definitely an interesting design idea because it's not what we currently have on Thief, that you have to think about what you use, because normally on Thief you spam a lot of buttons that are always the same. Here you have to think a bit more. Then you get Reef Shuffle. That's really cool. That is just an attack or an F4 skill that reshuffles your artifacts. So if you don't like your selection of artifacts, you can use this on a 5-second ICD. It costs some initiative, removes some conditions from you, and removes the current equipped artifacts, and you get 2 other ones. So really cool idea that you can use that to say, oh, I don't want those, I want other ones, then I can use that again. Really nice to decrease the RNG there. Would probably use that more in competitive modes than you would use it in PvE, but still. In PvE, you might use this one, where you get at least guaranteed to get 1 offensive and 1 defensive artifact all the time. So you can always get the offensive ones guaranteed, so that you might get always a very consistent damage. They said maybe they will change that or make that baseline, because that might be what they wanted to have in the first line. But I think that right now looks okay. The last one probably looks the best. The last one here being gain an additional artifact slot. So you get just F2, F3 and F4 as artifacts. And you can use 2 artifacts before it, so to say, goes away. Because if you have 2 artifact slots only and don't have improvisation equipped, which is a core Thief trait, that means you will only get 1 of those artifacts and the other one will disappear. If you use this prolific plunderer trait, you will get a 3rd artifact slot and can use 2 of those 3. If you use the improvisation trait, you will be able to use all 3 of those artifacts all the time. So really cool interaction with the core traits already. Yeah, I think Antiquary looks quite fun to play, I agree. I like that the backfire also does something, so it also could be utilized in reward for those who look for mastering it. Yeah, for sure, it's like a spec that is high risk, high reward, and I think that's really cool that we don't have in Guild Wars 2 that much. It's always quite deterministic, and this one is a little bit more like you have to activate your brain. You can't always follow the rotation because there will be some adjustments. So the mastering of this build is probably high skill ceiling. Yeah, I like this trait the most here, because that's like giving you more choices, and therefore you can always get the one that you actually really want or you really need in the current situation, and you can use 2 of them. So really, really good. Then we have Skundering's Luck. This is interesting. When you use your F1 skill, your next double edge skill will always be successful, independent of the current cooldown. So that's really cool. That means that you can guarantee that you will get the non-backfire attack. So you can use, for example, the teleport twice and guarantee that it will not knock you down. So really cool. Will probably be more of a competitive mode trait than it will be in PvE, but still really interesting design of this trait. Yeah. Then we get your artifacts have increased effectiveness. That's just a trait that you will probably use in PvE, just more damage in most of them. This one gives more CC, and that's about it. It's like really like giving more power to the artifacts. That's about it. I'm not sure, you would probably not use it in PvP rather. And then you get just a big damage buff. That's the one that you would probably use as the DPS pick. So I think the one on top would probably be the one that is like in competitive modes, and this one is the DPS pick for PvE. Just like 15% damage buff all the time if you use improvisation or the first trait here that is equipped here. This one, to use 2 artifacts, you get up to 20 seconds. Then get the steal again, and then you get another 20 seconds of this 15% damage buff. Just more damage, DPS build, power DPS, that's about it. That's how you would play it. Then you pilfer after using a certain amount of initiative. That's really interesting. So when you spend 15 initiative, you will get the pilfer. So you will get more artifacts without the steal. It will not trigger steal traits, but it will give you artifacts. So if you use a lot of artifacts, so the gameplay loop would be you spam your initiative up until like 10 or something, then you use your artifacts to get your initiative back, spam another round of attacks, get the initiative up to 15, proc this trait, you get 3 new artifacts, and you can spam them again to get more initiative, and that's like an infinite loop of spending initiative, getting artifacts and that stuff on top of the already available steal. So really interesting trait, probably not that good in competitive modes, but in PvE looks quite decent maybe. This one is the trait that you would use in competitive modes, barrier, resistance, and defensive artifacts ability. It's really, really good. You get stability if you wanted to, you get resistance, really strong boon, and you always get barrier. It's only for yourself, so it's a really nice bruiser trait for competitive modes, I would say. Would probably not use it in PvE, maybe in a solo scenario, but that's about it. And the last one is also quite interesting. That's the trait whenever you steal, you use your F1 skill, you get a 30% damage buff for power and condi damage, but it decreases over time. So after 18 seconds, you only have like 27%. After 16 seconds, you have like 24% damage. So it goes down with each few seconds, couple of seconds by 3%. That's the trait, how it works. I would say looks like a bursty trait. I'm not sure if you would use that in like a DPS build all the time, probably, but you have to make your rotation like really think about it, because you want to put all your front-loaded skills, like really hard-hitting skills in the beginning after you steal, and then you have to use your order takes maybe at the end. Really interesting gameplay loop. You can see the traits are way more interesting in Paragon. I really like this trait design. I think some of them still need a bit of work, but most of them look really interesting and really cool. Really interesting just theory crafting going on with this. And I think, yes, the class fantasy might look a little bit goofy, and it might look not like completely fitting to Thief, but I personally think the traits really carry this spec. It's really cool how you can interact with the initiative mechanic, core traits, how you can make the artifacts really cool. I think it is a full-fledged DPS spec for all game modes. Maybe some kind of bruiser thief for PvP, but it looks really, really strong. Really strong. Might not be in everybody's like favorite type of class fantasy, but I actually enjoy it quite a lot, to be honest. To see how it plays, and I actually will look forward to playing it for sure. So yeah, I mean, that's the summary. That's why I would say Antiquary looks quite surprisingly good. And probably better than most people expected after the trailer, to be honest. Yeah. The issue is high risk, high reward, but there are other classes that are doing the same thing much easier. They should reward it with higher DPS than others. I mean, I don't know the DPS numbers, no. But you're right, of course, Final One. If the DPS number is like similar to something that doesn't have any RNG in there, yes, then of course you're completely right. Then this spec sucks. But if the DPS number is a little bit higher, somewhat decently higher than another DPS spec that fills the same role, and you have an RNG or some kind of more like not clear rotation in there where you have to adjust it depending on what kind of artifacts you draw, then I think this looks actually very promising. And I think the DPS numbers, we don't know anything yet, but I think the DPS numbers will be quite high for this one. I really think so. I think that might be the go-to spec for speedrunning because it has so high numbers, potentially. It's really, really crazy. Yeah. Same should apply for Viva? Yeah, Viva should be the similar. That would be cool. Maybe Viva gets a big rework with the next balance patch like this. That would be really cool. I would look forward to it. Yeah, it's very unique. It's definitely unique. So I think that's what you want. You want to get a unique elite spec. You don't want to get a dull elite spec that looks exactly the same as another one. I think getting some unique stuff is better, even if you currently don't like this specific one. I think if you have only unique specs, there will be definitely one that you will be absolutely like enjoying. So I think that is better than having something that is quite dull. Yeah. You dig it. Yes, that's good. That's a good one. I like it. Which specialization interests you the most so far? For me, Gale Shot is the best, although I'm still waiting for the ref. So I would say I'm mostly excited for Revenant and Elementalist right now, because I don't know what they will be, how they will function. But from the ones that I already saw, I think Troubadour looks the most broken, just from a gameplay, game balancing decision. But from a just class fantasy wise and how it feels, I think the Gale Shot looks amazing. I think it's perfect for what it wants to be. It's the fast pace, squishy range, power DPS option. I think that is like really cool, and I'm really looking forward to playing it. Even though I'm not a Ranger one trick, I'm really looking forward to that one. So I think the Gale Shot is like top tier right now for me. I'm with you there. Yeah. But I think the Troubadour, for me, even though the class fantasy is not perfectly fulfilled for me, it looks extremely strong in terms of gameplay and mechanics. It will probably be game breaking with the distortion share, so I think there will be a balance decision there and they will nerf it at some point. But, you know, yeah, exactly. It's a pure archer, and I think that's very fitting. We didn't have that yet. And yeah, I don't know. I just like Gale Shot. Yeah. Yeah, in general, I think those three elite specs, I made a Ritualist video already. You can check it out on my YouTube channel. I think all those, Paragon, Antiquary, and Ritualist, are surprisingly good. I really think all of them look really potent as a DPS build, or as PvE builds or support builds, whatever. I think the gameplay mechanic looks really good. You know, just from a balance decision point, I think they will fill their spot, their niche, perfectly fine. They will probably be the best in their spot right now in the balance. You might argue that there might be some dull traits in there, that the class fantasy is not fulfilled. Yes, that can be argued. The biggest argument probably would also be that the icons are not fitting. Yeah, maybe you could make that as well, especially on the Antiquary, that those cards are not perfectly fitting. Yeah, you could make that argument. But I personally think the gameplay is the thing that is the most deciding factor for me if it's fun or not. I don't care if like the icon looks weird. I play the spec if it's really fun to play and it's good. That's all I ask for. And I think all three of those look like they will be fun and strong. And that's good. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, exactly. Shared distortion, what could go wrong? You know, we had that before and they removed it for a reason. So yeah, I actually think there will be some nerfs to it. I can't see 2 seconds of distortion share being healthy for the game, especially for like competitive modes and even in PvE. I think it's not healthy. So I really think they should remove it or make it different. But if they do that, then Troubadour might be a little bit boring again, because it's just like a Chronomancer 2.0 without the distortion share. I don't know. It feels like really like a hard balance decision. I don't want to be in their shoes, to be honest. Yeah. Gale Shot melee should be interesting. Mace Mates, Sword X, Gale Shot. Yeah, I think I'm with you there, Rising Reap. I think this is actually quite likely to be the case that you play a full melee setup on your weapons. Like a full power melee Gale Shot is quite likely, to be honest. And then you just play the ranged Gale, how's it called, the Gale bow or whatever, you will equip this one only when you need range, or when you want to get some melee damage. Of course you can do it as well, but you don't need to have a ranged weapon at all anymore. You can go in any ranged, so to say, ranged fight for PvE and play this as a full melee build. And whenever you have to go ranged, you just go into your Gale bow and use the auto attack and the normal attacks there. It's really, really cool and makes this very, very flexible as a DPS spec. That's why I would highly suspect me playing it all the time, because I like to play flexible DPS. I don't want to play a DPS spec that is like really good in a specific niche, and as soon as the chaos comes up and you have some crazy chaotic puck fight where someone dies, where you don't have stability, where you just have to run around, do mechanics, you crumble and have no DPS anymore. I think Gale Shot is perfect for situations like that, because you can say, oh, I have to go do this mechanic, I can still do some damage from range. That's really cool. I really liked it. Yeah, maybe we get some longbow rework so that it actually is more worthwhile using, but I actually, if they don't rework it, I think you will not pick a longbow on Gale Shot, because you have the Gale bow. Why would you pick another bow that is just worse? I don't see that. Welcome, Coco. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, that's just my analysis there. But I'm actually like quite excited about those 6 elite specs, and I actually really look forward to those, to be honest. Yeah. But that's just my take, you know, I'm just someone that likes build crafting, and I think all of them have crazy potential, and I think there will be so many builds that I can try out, especially with the beta coming up, but even with the expansion release, there will be changes and there will be new builds that I can try out, and probably also new relics coming and that kind of stuff, and all of that comes all together, and then I can craft more builds, and I'm just excited for the expansion, as you can probably tell here. Yeah. Longbow to me is what underpowered to make it worthwhile. Don't get me wrong, I like the bow, but the performance is so bad. Yeah, I think the longbow needs like a complete rework. I think the longbow is a very decent weapon in competitive modes. But the problem is, even in competitive modes, it's not as broken as other weapons. And in PvE, it's like really bad. It's like the 3, 4, and 5 skill are like almost like useless. The 2 skill does some nice damage and the auto attack is too big. So it's like either they completely rework the whole longbow kit to make it more like attractive for a PvE build, or they just increase the numbers like crazy. I think the biggest problem is that longbow is like competing against other weapons, and most other weapons are just better in terms of numbers and utility, so why would you ever pick a longbow? The range is not necessary in any build right now. So I really think they should give it some more identity that is not only you take that if you want to be long-ranged barebow ranger. Yeah, I think that's not the best identity that you should have on a weapon. So I'm really looking forward to getting a big balance patch, hopefully next month. I really expect that. I think maybe at the end of September, a big longbow rework, something like that. Maybe some other, like maybe some Weaver changes, maybe some Warrior Greatsword buffs. We already know there will be a Chronomancer rework, so there will be some changes coming. I hope Longbow will be one of them. Yeah. Which is the coolest class for you, and which one on the top one? Top OP one? So OP Rise, I think Troubadour will be the most OP right now, and like the coolest looking one is for me the Gale Shot, like I said. In terms of like the already existing classes, I would say the coolest looking one. That's a hard one. I actually think there are a lot of cool looking classes. Maybe Spectre. I think Spectre looks really cool. I like the Spectre Shroud a lot from the looks. From the most broken one, I don't know. I think Chronomancer right now without any nerfs is probably in all game modes the most broken elite spec. That's summarize it, I would say. Welcome then, Machine. I have a question. I don't have any expansion yet. If I buy the last expansion, would you get mounts? And if I want the flying mount, would I get it too? So the flying mount you only get if you purchase Soto, so Secrets of the Obscure expansion, or go for the Living World Season 4 expansion. Thanks for the follow, by the way. So the Living World Season 4, you will get unlocked the mount, or you have to do it some collections and then you can do it. So you have to get at least either Path of Fire expansion or Soto expansion to get those. So that's the deal. If you want to get the flying mount, you will get, I think as far as I know, you will get all mounts, or you will get all expansions will give you the easiest mount. So the Raptor, I think you will get by purchasing any expansion as far as I know. But So you could also go for the newest one. But I would say Path of Fire will probably give you a lot of value, probably Soto as well. So one of those you should definitely get if you like the game, because they are like really giving you a lot of like step up in terms of utility. You get elite specs with POF, you get the weapon proficiency with Soto, so you can use all the weapons. That kind of stuff, it's really, really good. And of course you get the Sky Scale, the flying mount. Yeah. Reaper Shroud is the coolest shroud in my opinion. Yeah, I think the Reaper Shroud is definitely, from the looks, the coolest one, or from the feeling here. But I think the Spectre Shroud is like, for me, such a perfect fit for a Shroud for Thief, because it's so like perfect, you know? You engulf yourself into shadows and it looks really like dark and dangerous, but also cool at the same time. I think it's really fitting to the class. I think Reaper is amazing as well. I think Reaper is a very good choice as well. I like the sight, I like the looks of it. I think maybe the attacks are not that exciting, to be honest. I think the sight is like the most exciting one. The other ones are like not too exciting. I think on Thief you have really, really cool attacks as well, but that's just my take. Yeah, I hope that helps, Dimension. And of course, if you want to support my stream, you can use my referral link to purchase any expansion. Link is in the description below, but for no additional cost, of course. Just mentioning it here, if it comes ever up to any one of you. What's your stream schedule? So typically I stream on Tuesday in the evening, so 8 p.m. CST, and on Wednesday or Thursday rather. So just check out my Twitch. There is a schedule where I always tell you in advance which kind of schedule I have. Typically on Tuesday and Saturday. Those are my stream days that I guarantee to have a stream. And next week there will be more streams, because next week will be Push beta event, or not really beta event, it's the last Push release. So we will get Push permanently, or at least we'll get the full-fledged version of it. So that's the new PvP game mode. And I will of course also cover Festival of the Four Winds, probably my favorite festival in the year, because it's really cool, a lot of gold to be made there, and I will cover it here on stream as well. And can't wait to see how much new bad luck I will get with the boxes, but that's like every year, so we will see. Yeah. Finally finished all Ice Spirit Saga masteries, took a while, also nearing the end of EOD story-wise, so I'm catching up. Very, very good, and you still have like 2 months. That's good, very good. Very good. So let's go a little bit in game, I guess. Yeah. Is it good gold per hour? Wing 1-8 with all Wing 1 to Wing 8 with all CMs on. So the gold per hour for raids is highly dependent how fast or how good your group is. So if you're in a bad group, I don't know how long you take for Wing 1 to Wing 8 with all CMs. That can take hours. If you do it like with a really good group, it will take under 3 hours, maybe like around 2 to 2.5 if you do it really fast. Then it's really good gold per hour. But if you're doing it like for 4 or 5 hours, even longer, then it's not good gold per hour. That's just a fact. Raids are not crazy good gold per hour if you do it not very, very fast. But they give you a lot of resources like ascended gear, like access to legendary gear. So raids are fun and give you access to those really high-end gear and cool skins and stuff. So if you like those, you can definitely get value out of raids, of course. But keep that in mind. If you just want to get the most amount of gold, fractals are way better gold per hour, for example, for instant content, or even like the meta trains are giving you more gold per hour than you would get, for example, from farming raids, because raids are weekly locked, you know, you can't get them more than once. So the gold per hour from raids is actually surprisingly low. It's only really high if you really speed running it, and then you can only do it once per week anyway. So keep that in mind. To get flying mounts, you have to play the game. Simply buying expansion is not enough. Yeah, exactly. So buying an expansion will just give you the access to the mount. It will not give you the mount instantly. So this is why it's really important that you understand the flying mount. So the Sky Scale or the Griffin is also a flying mount. Those will be something that you have to grind. That's just a fact. You can't buy this and get it day one. It will take a while. So if you want to get it, you have to purchase an expansion and invest some time. But I think that's completely fine. It's a very, very strong mount. You will only get it once and then you have it forever. So it definitely makes sense that you actually have to play a bit in the game. So I think the expectation should be that you have to grind a bit. Yeah. Which meta is super profitable? So it depends a bit how fast you're doing the meta. So like, for example, Drizzlewood Coast is a good meta for gold farming, for example. But you have to do it very organized to actually make it very worthwhile. And that's always the thing that a lot of people don't understand is like, yeah, there are some really good websites like Fast Farming Community where you see how much gold per hour you can get. For example, like I think it's like almost 40 gold per hour by farming Drizzlewood. But you have to be very organized about it. It's not something that you can do and say, oh, I will solo this and it will be working and I will get the crazy amount of gold. No, then you will be way off. Yeah. So I think for most people, that's like a really hot take, but for most people, the best gold per hour that you can get easily is farming, like doing fishing. Like 24-hour fishing, like is possible. And you don't need any others with you. You get crazy good gold per hour. Metas can be really lucrative as well, but you have to have some level of organization there. Fishing, you just go in, you get big gold out of it. So it's really like fishing can be 40 to 50 gold per hour for 24/7. There is no cooldown on that. You can farm that forever. So if you don't mind this like a little bit like semi-AFK concept of farming, it's one of the best ones. I have a guide on my YouTube channel about how to make this work and how you can easily do it. So be sure to check that one out if you're interested. Welcome, Alka. Welcome. Happy to have you here on stream. Yeah, Dragonfall is always a really good one. Doesn't need that much of organization in terms of you just have to kill the mobs and the champions that spawn and do the meta event. That's about it. It's not as bad as, for example, Drizzlewood Coast, where you have to organize quite heavily to actually get to the high number of gold per hour. But definitely more organization required and more people required than for fishing. So I just want to mention this here. Fishing is really lucrative. Yeah. Is there a way to quick open the chests that pop up above the minimap? Yes, you can just type. So normally if I would go here and click left, I would have to get the pop-up window. If I right click it, it goes instantly in my inventory. Yeah, you could see that. That's very fast. Yeah. Variety is the spice of life. Exactly. I personally think the Paragon looks good. It looks a little bit like the trades are not like insane. I'm not the biggest fan of the trades, how they feel like, but it looks very strong. Yeah, I think the Paragon will be a very good pick in competitive modes and will be a very decent pick in PvE as well. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I think it's one of the most like quoted things in my stream is that I always say variety is the spice of life. And I think the same goes for gold farming. If you farm gold on a specific thing, like for example, I don't know, let's say you do Fractal 42 farm and it gives you like 60 gold per hour and you get burnt out after 2 hours. Yeah, so that means that you get like 120 gold in those 2 hours. Then you get burned out. It's better to do like any gold farm that only gives you 20 gold per hour, but you can do it for 10 hours. Then you have way more gold in the end than if you would have gone for the more lucrative gold farm that you can't do because you get burned out. So it's always like, always find the one that is fun to you and you will have fun in the game while still getting gold. Don't be too harsh on yourself, too rigid and say, I only do the most like lucrative gold farm. That's not gonna work out in the end for most people. So that's my take here. Yeah. There will be more fractals coming. That's already confirmed, Scorpion. There will be more fractals coming. Is the Chantier Legendary Backpack easier to get than the Fractal one? No, I wouldn't say so. It's more expensive right now, and it's also, in my opinion, not easy. You have to grind quite a bit. The Fractal one is actually surprisingly easy. It's one of the easiest backpacks to get. If you play Fractals, that is. Of course, if you don't like Fractals, then maybe it's not the correct one for you. But I think the Fractal one, you don't even have to do challenge modes. You can just do the normal modes, and you will be completely fine. So I would definitely recommend the Fractal one. Yeah. Are you excited for the push beta event? Yes, you know, I will be excited to play a lot of Scourges and to play against them and to like have a lot of fun with that. I really am still hoping for balance hotfix coming to nerf some Scourges on Tuesday as well. But I have no clue if that will be true, if I'm just coping there, if they are too busy with the elite specs right now, with the upcoming ones, so that there might not be anything coming. Yeah, I really hope so, that there will be a nerf for Scourge. Yeah, if you really want to gather stuff, then Paragon looks really fun in this way. Yeah, that's true. It's really passive, the boons and stuff. That's really interesting that they go for that like passive upkeeping stuff. Really interesting. Really interesting. The great thing about Guild Wars 2 is that most stuff in the game rewards you. Yeah, exactly. That's what I always tell people is it doesn't matter what kind of gameplay you do. As long as you play the game, you will get decent gold. It is not like top notch all the time, but if you do anything that gives you rewards, it will probably be rewarding. Just if you do role playing in Divinity's Reach, maybe you don't get any gold, but if you're doing anything like World vs. World, PvP, open world, fractals, whatever, everything gives gold. Like through materials, through direct loot, it doesn't matter, you will get some value out of that, always. Yeah. I know I win the lottery, 100 plus gold per hour. Hope. Yeah, I mean, that's true. If you know that you will get the Chuck sect, the Chuck X infusion, you are quite like rich by doing Chuck like all the time. And the Chuck guarantee each day that can give you good gold per hour. But I never dropped any big infusions, so I can't tell you how if that works. I mean, Narian, I mean, it's not that high to have 80k to 160k gold. It's not that high. It's like, you just play a lot, play efficiently, and you have high gold numbers. My account is 1 million. You know, my account value is 1 million. I just played that game for way too long. That's it, and I play very efficiently. You know, having like crazy amounts of legendary and that kind of stuff is just like coming if you play the game for too long. Then you get that. Yeah, that's just like commitment. What's the recommended all-round route for pumping gold per hour consistently? So there is not one thing that I would recommend only to do, but personally I would say logging in every day, trying to play every single day the stuff that is very rewarding. So if you want to get really consistent gold per hour, then just doing each day the fractals dailies and the CMs is a very good gold per hour as well. But of course you have to like doing fractals. It's not something that I can recommend to everyone. If you don't like fractal CMs, that might not be the best one. But there are so many ways. I can recommend you checking out Fast Farming Community website. They have a really good spreadsheet of all the gold farms that you can get in the game. Yeah. Do you have any videos showing what you are gonna get from each expansion, even the last one? So I have a video where I talk about all the elites or all the expansions and tell you which of those expansions are really, really good to play. So it's a tier list. You can check that one out. Of course, the newest expansion is not in there yet, but all the others are. So you can check that one out. It's on my YouTube channel in my tier list. Or you can just type in the Twitch chat, you can type !builds, and there is a specific category in those builds spreadsheet where I talk about all the tier lists as well. So you can check that one out as well. You mentioned the Celestial Tempest build. You have a couple variations of it. Do you happen to know which one I should choose? I would choose the latest one. So the latest one is the best one. It depends a bit if you want to play the solo build. The solo build is really, really strong if you want to solo. Yeah, makes sense. And the Celestial 20k DPS version for a healer, Alacrity healer, that's the one that I would play in a group scenario. So both of them use the same gear, you can just switch. Yeah, that's how I would do it. Yeah, I mean, most people don't have like 80k in the wallet because Guild Wars 2 is always like, for example, I have here a legendary that I can sell. There is a lot of stuff that is always bound to your items and stuff, and you sell that. Typically, very few people have like 80k gold in the wallet. Most people have like account value of 100k to like higher account value, but having like so much in the wallet, that's only really rare exception, because stuff that is in the wallet, gold that is in the wallet, is no use to you, you know? Gold that you invest in something and sell it again, that is the gold that actually makes you more gold. If you think about it like some kind of like economist. You don't want to have gold sitting in your wallet because you don't get any interest in that. So always want to invest it again in something else. So keep that in mind. Did you intentionally hide the Twitch chat overlay? Ah, yes, I did hide it, but I forgot to turn it back on. Yes, good point, good point. Because I was hiding it during the analysis of the live stream. Now it's back on. It should work now again. Thanks for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me. Do you think meta train is the recommended way or doing like the Living World Season 4 map? I'm looking at fast farming, but that gold per hour makes a lot of assumptions, so it's hard to tell what it's good. Yeah, like I said, I think if you want to only get gold and if you don't mind doing anything for a specific most fun reason, I think fishing is the best way to start out. I think fishing is the best way to start earning gold because it's very easy to get into. You don't need to have any character geared or have any organization going. You just can go fishing and you will get gold per hour. That is decent. But of course, I can see why you would go for more gameplay oriented things. Then fractals are a good way if you want to do open world. There are many open world maps that you can do. I personally think Dragonfall is probably the best to start out as a new player if you want to farm open world. But there are many ways to do it. I don't know which is currently the highest, like absolute top one if you organize perfectly well. You just have to find a group for organizing, for example, Drizzlewood or organizing Bavanivos, then you can get good farms there as well. But it's always about finding the right thing for you, because that's the thing that only matters. Yeah. Yeah, solo build is good for team, and no, it's not the case. Yeah, so it makes sense. I try to make my titles on my videos quite clear. Solo build should be played solo. That's how it should be. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I've seen that fishing requires a lot of setup to get maximum fishing luck. To get the most amount of gold per hour, yes, you might need a little bit more setup, but it is not. The thing that I always mention is that you can get decent gold per hour by just starting out. You don't need to have the perfect setup for fishing. This is not true for fractals. For example, if you want to farm fractals, you also would try to get the fractal CMs going. You would typically also want to do all the tier 4 fractals. If you are at tier 1, it's not bad, but it's not even getting close to the gold per hour that you can get by farming tier 4 fractals with CMs. So the setup for fractals is way more effort than getting into fishing. Fishing, you can get in, get a fishing rod, get some lure, and you can start out and get some fish going. Really, it's not that bad. Yeah. I mean, I did that as well before, you know. The stuff that Enko does is not too hard to do. It's just a lot of research that you do beforehand, getting crazy spreadsheets in the background going, and you have to invest a lot of time. It's not something that you do by just starting the game and then you get 2k gold per hour or per day. You will not get that by saying, okay, I now invest some time into Guild Wars 2. You have to invest a lot of time into your spreadsheets, in research and that stuff. It's a lot of setup. It's like to 99.9% of the community, that's not worth it. That's just straight up not worth it. And even those players right now, there are not that many around anymore that do that. It's really there are not that many around. Nice, a 101. Let's see. Is that a Condifier brand? Interesting. Most categories in LFG look like the Lona Desert. Yeah. There is not that much stuff going on sometimes in the LFG. That is sadly the case. Sadly, that is true. Yeah, there are many things you can do actually to earn gold in Guild Wars 2 if you like spreadsheeting. I have multiple guides on my YouTube channel as well, because people might not know me as a person like that, but I have a lot of account value because I did that in the past. You know, I was doing trading post stuff. You know, that was my main thing before I became a content creator. So I did that, you know, otherwise I wouldn't have 1 million account value. You know, I know what I'm talking about. It's just not something that I can recommend to everyone. It's not something that I would say that's the thing that you should do, because there's always a person that says, no, I want to get the highest gold per hour, and then they notice, oh, I have to actually not play the game anymore. I have to actually look at Excel sheets and stuff. Yeah, that is what you have to do to get this high amount of gold power. Yeah, keep that in mind. That's not for everyone. So big disclaimer here. Yeah, just an example, you know, I have that even here in my inventory. Those items here you can also salvage, for example. You know, you don't have to have the unidentified gears. You can also use those salvageable things, and if you order that on the trading post, they are quite cheap. If you salvage them, you get tier 5, tier 6, whatever. And if you have the drop rate researched on that, you can actually make profit by using the right salvage kit, then doing some processing, upgrading them, selling them, maybe doing another processing step. So there's a lot of things that you can do to make a lot of gold in Guild Wars 2, but you always have to have the drop rates, you have to do the research, what is crafting reliable there, what makes sense, what is like a gold loss. You have to invest money to get stuff that you wouldn't use any other way. You have to invest money in stuff that is very worthwhile getting already, but you also have to do another step before you sell it. Then you can of course use the overflow trading post Discord if you want to, for example, sell a legendary to avoid the taxes and that kind of stuff. So there is actually like a lot of intricacies going on with Guild Wars 2. You just have to like always think about it in a way that is not only gameplay oriented, but you also have to think about how can I make this the most economic way possible. Yeah, exactly. That's why a lot of people say, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do another spreadsheeting thing. I already have a job in real life. Why would I do something that is not fun to me? You know, it's still a game. That's why 99.9% of the community don't do that, because that's not their thing of fun. You know, they don't think that is fun, and that's completely fair. That's why I would never recommend it on my stream and say to a new player, yeah, get your spreadsheet out, enjoy this. That's not gonna work for most of you. And it's fine, you know, that's completely fine. Just don't expect to make that much gold then. If you know the drop rates for Ectos, if you salvage Ectos, you get this tier 6 dust. If you know the drop rates of the tier 6 dust, it's profitable. But you have to obviously know if it's currently profitable and do it. You know, that's the whole thing. And you have of course to use the correct salvage kit and all that good stuff. So it's like there's always, if you just because you did it and it was not profitable doesn't mean it's not profitable. You just have to find a way to make it profitable. That's the whole thing. There's always, it's like 90% of the player base just plays the game to have fun and not knows anything about the economy. And if you are one of the few percentages of the Guild Wars 2 community that actually knows how to use the correct economy with things like salvaging, buying, buy ordering, sell ordering, all that stuff. If you are one of those that actually know how to do this, you actually will profit off the people that are impatient, that are somewhat unknowledgeable, all that stuff. So you can actually make a lot of gold by just knowing more than the others, but you actually have to know more. Only then you will make profit. So I can't say, oh, you always salvage your Ectos and you will make profit. You have to understand how to make this work and make this profit. That's always the same. People that know more will probably get more money than people that don't know. Yeah. What I do is to find one niche on the TP and do some light flipping or some additional gold. I mean, that makes sense, you know. Flipping is a very easy thing to get into, and you can make some nice gold per hour there as well. It is not like the highest gold per hour that I would say on the whole like world for that, but definitely something that is worth considering if you don't have the high investment money, or if you just don't want to do crazy spreadsheeting. Yeah. Can I find a spreadsheet for all salvage mats if they are worth it? I mean, the thing is, you have to either find it yourself or create it yourself, because the thing is, you always have to understand it. If you have anyone that does like crazy amount of research in terms of that stuff, like Enko, for example, as soon as Enko would share his spreadsheet, yeah, then like 50 people in the community would do the same thing and the market would crash. So sharing the spreadsheet would not solve your issue, because you would not be able to do it again. So this is the whole idea, you know, that's the whole idea of it. Question for Ranger Untamed: what weapon would you add together with Mace, Hammer, Sword, Axe or Spear, mostly for damage? I personally would use Sword X, to be honest. I really like the mobility of Sword X, and also use the X offhand. It's such a good burst damage. I personally would go for those. That's my take there. I would go for those, yeah. How to create such a spreadsheet and research, never done something like that. I mean, the thing is, you have to enjoy it, you know. That's really what I want to mention here. Just don't get distracted by the high number of gold that you can make with this, because this is like saying, okay, currently I play like, I don't know, 10 hours per week of Guild Wars 2, yeah? Just say like that. If you want to make this profitable, you have like to put like 10 hours per week into spreadsheeting, yeah? Looking at an Excel sheet and trying to get that better, or looking at some inventory of your character to make a gold out of that. That's not for everyone. So just because you are like hearing this big number here doesn't mean you should do it, because maybe you get completely burned out from doing that and you will not enjoy Guild Wars 2 at all anymore. So it's always like, think about it twice what you want to achieve. If you like the spreadsheeting, create your own spreadsheet in Excel, try to implement some API that you can use. Guild Wars 2 API is amazing for that. You can just like download stuff from Guild Wars 2 Trading Post, BLTC, or other really crazy like websites where you can just get the, the data imported. Let me get this 101 here. That's a tough one actually. No, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it is. Okay, we got the reflect up. We are good to go. That was nasty. There was one burst in there that was actually really nasty, to be honest. There we go. Close one. So Actos, salvaging Actos is generally worth it if you know how to do it. It's not something that I can recommend to everyone, because you have to invest some money. You will get a lot of T6 dust out and you will get a lot of luck. So if you know how to make that useful, how to make gold out of that, then yes, it's profitable. If you sell the dust, if you, for example, sell the luck, then it will be profitable, but only then, yeah. Let's do a one-on-one, I guess. That's a lot of boning, my friend. It's such a nasty build, to be honest. How did this guy teleport back? That's actually interesting. How did this teleport happen there? There we go. Another one. Two of those guys. Okay. Another challenge approaches. Let's see if they can kill me. It's a longbow version now. Interesting. I think that's a win. That's a win. They are quite pressured. They have a lot of stealth. That's a little bit annoying, but other than that. How much stealth do they have? That's actually insane. There's the dodge. Nice, we got them. That's the burst. Nice, we did it. Yeah, I mean, interesting build, interesting build. Is there use for luck aside from Magic Find? No, So the only use for magic find or for luck is to get the magic find up here, and then you can sell it. You can sell it to a vendor on the, how is it called, Lunar New Year Festival. You can sell it to a vendor. It has almost no value, but if you have like full inventories of exotic luck, you get some amount of silver and gold back. But you need to have like insane amount of luck to make this worth it. And it is not like crazy. You will not get thousands of gold if you not have multiple characters of luck lying around. It's just a little bit of value that you get from this vendor, but that's it. Yeah. See you, final one. See you. I would say Mesmer. I think Daredevil is a very specific niche build that is good in its niche, but I think Mesmer is way more flexible. Chronomancer, Mirage, even Virtuoso, they are very flexible. I would always go for those over Daredevil. I think Daredevil is very niche, but if you like the class design, go for it. It's still worthwhile playing in all game modes. That's the most important part about Guild Wars 2. Yeah. I would keep it to sell it on the vendor. Yeah. Yeah, it's if you have a lot of exotic luck, you can get some gold out of it, but it means a lot of luck. You have to really have a lot of luck. It's not something that you say, oh, I have some luck lying around, you know, I have some luck in my inventory. No, I'm not talking about like this. I'm talking about the full inventory of exotic luck, multiple characters, that amount of luck. Yeah. Then you can get some gold out of it. Yeah. But of course, that's not something that is like, you can't acquire this only for the luck. You know, this is something that typically should come because you salvage Ectos, because you salvage green unidentified gear or something, and then you get it passively, and then you get a lot of luck that you can then sell to get some extra gold. That's how you would see it. You would not say, I go crazy and only will get luck. This is not the smart way. Luck is not very crazy profitable in that sense. Legendary luck is really rare because legendary luck can't be found by salvaging. It is only possible to, how's it called? You are only possible to get it from some kind of events or some achievements and that kind of stuff. It's quite rare, yeah. That was, there we go. This time it's untamed. And there are 2 people now. That's not nice. Oh my god, stop it. Three people now. They killed me in a 1v3. Now they will put some siege on me probably or something like that. No, that's good. Very good, they did it. So you can use it, yeah. I mean, some of the, if you want to go for all the minis or something on Lunar New Year, sometimes you have a vendor that actually sells stuff for legendary luck. So if you want to go for that, you should save it. But if you don't care about getting all the minis and stuff, then this is a very worthwhile thing to actually just invest it in getting more luck then, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so 31 legendary luck is actually quite a lot. So Alka played since like a long time and has 31. That is a lot. I actually used all of mine and I played like almost like the same amount of time. It's you don't get it very frequently and you will never get it from salvaging. It's really just from achievements. Yeah. I think it's only from achievements. You don't like the music, that's why we skip it. That's why we skip it. I think this is also the end of today's stream, so I hope you enjoyed it. I had a blast, it was really nice debating with you. Hope you enjoyed. And be sure to check out my YouTube channel, more stuff to come about the new lead specs of course as well. Thanks a lot for watching, thanks for all the follows, for the subs, really appreciate it. Hope to see you around, have a nice weekend. See you next week.